All right, welcome back to the party, everybody. I'm your host, Lutch, aka The Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. Everybody, hit that like and subscribe. You know I would do it for you. And let's party. Big shout out to the replay gang. Thank you so much for coming back to watch this, even though you missed the live party. Guys, that is the best part. So make sure you are here every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, and sometimes whenever I feel like it. So hit that subscribe, ring the bell, and you will never miss an Indian Jesus live party ever again. If you'd like to support the channel, head on over to TheIndianJesus.com for your very own official Indian Jesus merch. And I do have a new design coming out very, very soon. We do also have a Discord server, guys. It is absolutely free to join, and that is where all the good stuff goes down. Again, absolutely free to join. But if you join this channel on YouTube as a member, you can just scroll below and hit that join button. We have a bunch of different levels here, starting at just $2.99 a month. You get not only members only live streams here on YouTube, but that gives you full access to the Discord server, including the after party channel, where as soon as we are done here, we don't have to worry about any of these YouTube censors, and you guys are not stuck behind your keyboard. You're actually on screen with me and everybody else. It is a grand old time. You should definitely come and join us. Shout out to Nick, Lou, Ketty in the building. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We got Sarah Marie in the building. We got Zippy DSM Lee over on Rumble. Welcome, welcome, welcome back to another Philosophy Friday. So this is Philosophy Friday number 4. So if you haven't seen any others, that's totally fine. But what I've been doing with the Friday show is going through the playlist from Crash Course, the YouTube channel Crash Course. They have a playlist on philosophy. And because we talk about a lot of philosophical ideas and stuff, and we don't necessarily all have the same basis, I thought this is a great way to kind of get a foundation for all of us. And so we're going to be diving into existentialism. Again, if you have not seen any, you don't need to have seen anything before to have seen this. It's going to be fun either way. As always, guys, if you cannot hear the video, please do let me know.
Squarespace. Share your passion with the world.
What gives your life meaning? God, love, money, work, fan fiction, football, shopping, Sherlock. You might have your own personal sense of purpose in your life, or maybe you're hoping this course will help you find one. Or you might believe that you were created with a certain essence as a human being, with a purpose given to you by God. Whatever
essence, that word is going to come up more. And if you, well, I've read that.
the case is, no one would fault you for wanting your life to have meaning. A sense of meaning is something that we all crave, maybe even need. And as we move out of our unit on the philosophy of religion, we should spend some time talking about how we understand our lives as being meaningful.
Yeah, we did just spend almost the entire 3 weeks so far on philosophy of religion or stuff related to that. And not that that stuff is not going to come up, but we are moving beyond philosophy of religion and talking more about just life and knowledge and all of that stuff.
Because when you think about it, a lot of us devote a ton of energy to the task of finding meaning in our lives. Maybe you find it through religion, or by fighting for social justice, or educating others, or seeking beauty in artistic expression. No matter how you do it, there's a group of philosophers, the existentialists, who say that any or all of these things can give your life meaning. But at the same time, they say none of them can.
Something that can give you, something that has no inherent meaning can give you meaning.
As you know by now, philosophy is about the dialectic. Someone puts forth an idea, and then someone else responds to it. Sometimes the response comes right away. In other cases, it takes thousands of years. Way back in ancient Greece, Plato and Aristotle took it as given that everything has an essence, a certain set of core properties that are necessary or essential for a thing to be what it is. If those properties...
So a certain set of core properties that are necessary or essential for a thing to be what it is. So without these characteristics, the thing is not the thing.
Were missing, then that thing would be a different thing. For instance, a knife could have a wooden handle or a metal handle. It really doesn't matter. But if it didn't have a blade, it wouldn't really be a knife anymore. The blade is the essential property of the knife because it gives the knife its defining function. Now, Plato and Aristotle thought that everything has an essence, including us, and they believe that our essences exist in us before we're even born. So by this thinking, part of what it means to be a good human is to adhere to your essence. Now, you may or may not know what your essence is, and you might be great at living up to your essence, or you may be awful at it. But the important thing...
And you may be good at living up to your essence without knowing what your essence is, or vice versa.
is that your essence gives you a purpose because you were born to be a certain thing. This belief, known as essentialism, was the standard view of the universe all the way up until the late 19th century, and it's still accepted by many people today. But in the late 1800s, some thinkers started to challenge the idea that we are imbued with any essence or purpose. German philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche, for example, embraced nihilism, the belief in the ultimate meaninglessness of life. But by the mid-20th century, the path had been paved for French thinker Jean-Paul Sartre to return to the question of essence and ask, what if we exist first? What if
we exist first? Shout out to our boy Guam Tech. Welcome to the party. Very, very glad you are here for a Friday Philosophy Friday. Either way, welcome.
Sartre to return to the question of essence and ask, what if we exist first? What if we're born without any hardwired purpose, and then it's up to us to figure out our own essences?
So now we're starting to see, okay, this might be similar to where Lutch is coming from. That, maybe there's no inherent purpose or meaning to any one person's life, but that doesn't mean that there's no meaning. Shout out to King Nirvana. Welcome to the party. Said, hooray for Gay Fridays. I joke philosophy is straight. Hope everyone is doing well. You as well. Welcome to the party.
Without any hardwired purpose, and then it's up to us to figure out our own essences. Well, this became the framework for what we now know as existentialism, and its mantra is the claim that existence precedes essence.
Existence precedes essence. That means, to me, that I was here before my essence, the essence of my life was created, established, discovered, whatever.
In other words, our existence, our birth, happens first. Then it's up to each of us to determine who we are. We have to write our own essence through the way we choose to live. But we have no actual predetermined purpose. There's no set path that we're supposed to follow.
And even right there, that is where you lose a lot of people. Because if the notion, there's no correct direction, obviously people are going to go in the wrong direction. Because just because there's no right direction doesn't mean that there's no wrong direction. And so this is why you see the uptick in religiosity recently, because a lot of people who are existential in this context, they may not be existentialists, but they've given up this idea that God has a purpose and all of that stuff. Then they can go in the wrong direction. But that is not a necessity of not believing in a God or gods or anything. It has to do much more with, as I always say, having a moral structure. I knew you would, buddy. I knew you would.
But we have no actual predetermined purpose. There's no set path that we're supposed to follow. It's hard to express how radical this idea was at the time, because for thousands of years before this, you didn't have to choose a path or find your purpose. God did it for you. But it's important to—
Oh, how convenient. Shout out to Zippy DSML over on Rumble with the Rumble rant. Said Nietzsche's not wrong. Life is meaningless, but you are forced to live. Thus, you need to live well, understanding the now. Shout out to Nietzsche. Shout out to my co-host Morty, and a big shout out to our new sponsor of the stream, dropping bars, Zippy DSM Lee. Well done, and thank you, sir.
Before this, you didn't have to choose a path or find your purpose. God did it for you. But it's important to note that existentialism is not synonymous with atheism. Plenty of existentialists are atheists, but some are theists, like Kierkegaard. What theistic existentialists deny is any sort of teleology. That is, they refute the notion that God made the universe, or our world, or us, with any particular purpose in mind.
So again, you can even see that with that last clause, with any purpose in mind, that doesn't necessarily mean that I believe there is no God, that that I have to believe there is no, or that I even reject the notion that a God could be. Just that purpose part isn't from God.
So God may exist, but instilling you or your life or the cosmos with meaning, that's just not in his job description. As a result, we are each born into a universe in which we and our world and our actions lack any real inherent importance. This is a fundamental component of existentialism, and its adherents refer to it as the absurd.
Ooh, my favorite. I do consider myself an absurdist. Shout out to Kelly Green in the building. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the party, brother. Always good to see you. You'll definitely like this stuff too. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Diving into the absurd.
This is a fundamental component of existentialism, and its adherents refer to it as the absurd. You and I think of absurdity as something that's just silly or preposterous, but for existentialists, absurdity is a technical term. It's how they describe the search for answers in an answerless world. We are creatures who need meaning, but we're abandoned in a universe full of meaninglessness. So we cry into the wilderness and get no response, but we keep crying anyway. That, for an existentialist, is the definition of absurd.
And that, as I tell you guys, I don't believe that there is a God in this guy. I could be convinced of it, but because of my desire for truth, and so many of you saying that you know that there is some type of existence there, I will still pray and talk to God, even though I don't believe that he's there. It's absurd, yet it is still. It makes a lot of sense when you're like, okay, it's almost a more honest version of Pascal's wager. Remember last week we talked about Pascal's wager, where it's like, well, if you don't believe in God and he does exist, then you're effed. And if you don't believe and he doesn't exist, then whatever. If you do believe and he does exist, well, you get into heaven. And if you do believe and he doesn't exist, well, it doesn't really matter. So, it's kind of like placing a bet on whether God exists or not versus actually being convinced or not convinced of the evidence. But this is that taking that and let's say leaving room for the notion that that evidence could be real. Shout out to Carl Johansson. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the party. Said, read about near-death experiences. The afterlife is real. I will say, read about DMT. Gonzag said, absurdist deist. I suppose I'd fall under that category. Probably. All right, diving back in, yeah.
But we keep crying anyway. That, for an existentialist, is the definition of absurd. Since there's no teleology, the world wasn't created for a reason, and it doesn't exist for a reason. And if there's no reason for any of this, then there's also no absolutes to abide by. There's no cosmic justice, no fairness, no order, no rules. Now, existentialism has its roots in late 19th century thinkers like Kierkegaard and Nietzsche, but it really came into its own during and after World War II, as the horrors of the Holocaust led many people to abandon any belief in an ordered world. And who could blame them? When Nazis became possible, meaning became much harder to find. But Sartre faced meaninglessness head-on and explored one of the most agonizing aspects of existentialism. Not the world's lack of meaning, but its terrifying abundance of freedom. To most of us,
the terrifying abundance of freedom. And that, again, is what people are afraid of. That with that freedom, you can choose to do the wrong thing. And so everybody wants to focus on this idea that we are this thing and we're on this path, and if you do anything different, then you're wrong. So he said, we are what we are. What are we? Yes.
What?
Whatever you say, pal. Sarah Marie said, I'm in a different stone. I'm in a different something then, since I do not believe that one's belief determines one's outcome. I'm not sure what that means.
Lack of meaning, but its terrifying abundance of freedom. To most of us, freedom sounds pretty great, but Sartre thought that we are painfully, shockingly free. After all, if there are no guidelines for our actions, then each of us is forced to design our own moral code, to invent a morality to live by.
Imagine that. Imagine that we all have to design our own moral code. Now, my shortcut to this is that people who are willing to spend the time to create this design this moral code and see what works and update it and be like, okay, well, this works, but that doesn't work, and that, whatever. Not everybody's willing to do that. But those of us that are can come together and come up with a structure that we just say, this is what's right. just like just like the Bible does. Did I misread it? I'm in a different zone. I don't know what a zone is. Then, since I do not believe that one's belief determines one outcome. Still don't know what it means.
Sartre took this to mean that we are condemned to be free, a fate that he found to be quite awful. You might think that there's some authority you could look to for answers, Sartre said, but all of the authorities you can think of are fake. You can do what your parents say, or your church, or your government, but Sartre said those authorities are really just people like you, people who don't have any answers, people who had to figure out for themselves how to live.
You can imagine why I like Paul Sartre.
So the best thing you can really do, he determined, is to live authentically. Sartre used this to mean that you have to accept the full weight of your freedom in light of the absurd. You have to recognize that any meaning your life has is given to it by you. And if you decide to just phone it in and follow a path that someone else has set, whether it's your teachers, your government, or your religion, then you have what he called bad faith. All
right, we'll come back to that. Yeah, King's saying there could be a God that doesn't need you to believe in it in order for whatever it may be. Maybe a God only cares about who you are overall. And that's, I think a lot of modern Christians actually do adhere to this in the sense that they know that they don't follow every single rule. Like any sin is bad as any other. And so the way that they justify this is to say, well, I'm a good person and, you know, I try to be good. So, you know, that's good enough. And I mean, that's not what the Bible says, but you know, do whatever you want. Shout out again to Zippy over on a Rumble with a Rumble rant. Thank you. Said more freedom. Let's get that on camera. There we go. Zippy said more freedom just means you have more counterbalancing forces, like with gun crime. More free people with guns means less gun crime. Less free people means more criminals with guns. Fear brings suffering. Exactly. Well said. Well so. And again, out sponsoring yo damn self. Thank you, sir. Let's back this up a little bit.
Given to it by you. And if you decide to just phone it in and follow a path that someone else has set, whether it's your teachers, your government, or your religion, then you have what he called bad faith, a refusal to accept the absurd. If you live by bad faith, you're burying your head in the sand and pretending that something out there has meaning that you didn't give it. Which brings us to this week's Flash Philosophy. Let's go to the thought bubble. Sartre explained these ideas through an anecdote about one of his students.
What if because this guy talks fast. Even for me, he's kind of like zipping through this.
Flash Philosophy. Let's go to the thought bubble. Sartre explained these ideas through an anecdote about one of his students who faced a difficult decision. The young man was at a crossroads in his life. He could join the military during wartime and go off and fight for a cause that he believed in, and he wanted to do this. He thought it was right.
Okay, so the war's going on, and he believes in the war cause, and he wants to do it, and he thinks it's right.
But he also had an elderly mother who was all alone except for him. If he went to war, he'd leave her behind, and that seemed wrong. So he could stay with her and let others fight for justice, or he could go off to war and leave his mother to herself, and likely never see her again. The young man felt a sense of duty to both his cause and to his mother, but he could only serve one. Moreover, if he went to war, he'd just be a very small part of a really big cause. His contribution probably wouldn't be great, but he would be contributing to something that would affect millions of people. But if he
So just based on that right now, which one would you guys choose? If you had to pick, stay at home and take care of mom or go and fight in this war that you do believe in. Which one would you pick?
he stayed behind, he'd make an enormous difference in just one person's life. Thanks, Thought Bubble. So what's the answer? Sartre said the whole point of this young man's decision was that no one could give him an answer.
I said shit. Me too. So zone, is that what we're trying to say? Okay. I'm in a different zone then. Okay. I do not believe that one's belief determines one's outcome. How would that possibly be the case? If you don't believe that, then cover your eyes, and it doesn't matter what you believe about traffic. You could just walk into the street, right? Because your beliefs don't determine the outcome. So I'll disagree. Try to say, do not believe that people are judged by any right religion. I mean, in America, there definitely are. They definitely are. But maybe cultural differences. Fair enough. Nick said, what if there's a God, but is completely unaware of our existence? It's been a while since somebody's barked up this tree. no difference between us and the furthest away spot in the universe as far as we can't know if there's anything there or not. You never know. You never know. And this is why exactly what we're talking about, answers that you cannot have at least right now. Maybe there's a day in the future when these things will be answered. But right now, we don't have those answers. King Ivana said, I'm taking care of mommy. Yeah, I think I'd have to do the same. Zippy said, with my IP drooling, spending your money, there can only be one, a good curator or a yeah, well, I mean, we'll talk about that. We can talk about that. Hermetics. What about hermetics?
Said the whole point of this young man's decision was that no one could give him an answer. In fact, there was no answer until the man chose one for himself. No moral theory could help him decide because no one else's advice could lead him to a decision that was truly authentic. So his choice, no matter what it was the only true choice, provided that he made it authentically, because it was determined by the values he chose to accept.
So now we're getting back into the notion of free will, that if you hold certain values, which you don't choose, you believe certain things to be right or wrong, those values, those beliefs will dictate the outcome of your behavior. His choice, no matter what it was the only true choice, provided that it was made authentically.
That he made it authentically, because it was determined by the values he chose to accept. A lot of people think existentialism paints a pretty bleak picture of the world. In fact, the French philosopher and novelist Albert Camus went so far as to say that the literal meaning of life is whatever you're doing that prevents you from killing yourself. But most existentialists would remind you that the world and your life can have meaning, but only if you choose to assign it. If the world is inherently devoid of purpose, you can choose to imbue it with whatever purpose you want. So no one can tell you if your life isn't worth anything if you, say, don't have children, or don't follow a lucrative career path, or achieve whatever standards your parents hold you to. And this works not just on an individual scale, but on a global one too. If the world is going to have any of the things most of us value, like justice and order, we're going to have to put it there ourselves, because otherwise those things
wouldn't exist. Otherwise, to say there's no God that's going to fix everything for you, clearly our world is not in a state of utopia. So you have to do it yourself. We have to do it ourselves. Carl said, Hermeticists believe there is a splinter of truth in all religions that lead to the true God. They believe God needs us to recognize him as supreme, to see himself as God. That's Sarah's point, I think. Okay. I'll let Sarah, if that's a good explanation of your point, let us know.
Exist. So a worldview that looks bleak to some may to others seem almost exhilarating. Today, I hope you enjoyed as much as I did learning about essentialism and its response, existentialism. We talked about Jean-Paul Sartre and his ideas about how to find meaning in a meaningless world.
In a meaningless world. So it is not some novel idea that there is no inherent right or wrong to the universe. And I definitely see how you, if you are a Christian or if you believe in other things, that you might see that is a silly idea. And again, the danger of what did he say, radical freedom or whatever it is. That is not evidence for the existence of any kind of anything. It's very well documented that people can have this entire ideology that does not that is not rooted in dogma. Samari said, I felt and experienced what I choose to call God. And no, I was not under any influence. Being in that state, there was immense feelings of love. Those who've experienced it, no. I agree. I have also experienced that. I just don't know why it has to be God. And you can. I'm not saying you shouldn't, but again, that's the notion is that how do you know that it wasn't something that you wouldn't consider God? And if it wasn't, then wouldn't you want to know what it was? That's just my personal opinion. Moving on to perspectives on death. He says radical freedom, how we live in a society. True, but in the mind, radical freedom in the mind is can go either way, you know?
What are you afraid of? Spiders, public speaking, the dentist, calculus? What about death? How you feel about death has probably been shaped by your beliefs about whether or not there's an afterlife, and if there is, what it's like. The ancient Egyptians believed that at death, your heart would be weighed against a feather to determine if it was fit to enter the underworld. A heart.
Yeah, again, Samurai, I believe 1000% that what you experienced was a true experience. I have no doubt in my mind that whatever you're referring to is a very real thing. I just think it hurts our ability to identify that and get closer to that when we just slap a very vague word like God on it. That's why I say God is very bad at being a word. The purpose of a word is to take the ideas and thoughts in my mind and put them in your mind. When you say God, all you do is elicit what the other person thinks of God, because we don't have a set definition on what God is. And so that's great. I'm glad that you have the ability to experience those things. They're amazing. They're amazing. But that doesn't mean it's God of the Bible. And so that's why, again, I understand what you're saying. I'm not arguing with you. I'm just putting out why I say this is not a great way to, again, even if you were to go there, like, that's not any different, except for the fact that it has no political and social power. So if you were saying that, yeah, I just call it clear. I would have absolutely not even a thing to say about it. You see the difference? Well, glad you're with me.
Your heart would be weighed against a feather to determine if it was fit to enter the underworld. A heart heavy with misdeeds would be fed to a demon. Christians may envision St. Peter waiting at the pearly gates to welcome you into heaven, unless your name doesn't make his list. Imagine not only being turned away from the coolest club in town, but banished to the eternal torments of hell. As we learned in our discussions about the philosophy of religion, when the stakes are eternal, it's only reasonable to get a little nervous about what's basically the ultimate final exam.
I think I get you too. Hey, look who we got. The Funk Master General. Welcome to the party. Coming in hot as always. Knocking Zippy right out of that sponsor spot with a 10 spot. No question, no comment. Eat that up, buddy. Eat that up. Enjoy it. No question, no comment. Just pure love of the game. Thank you. So very, very much. King said FMG is in the building. Hell yeah. Thank you, and welcome to the party. We are talking about perspectives on death.
To the eternal torments of hell. As we learned in our discussions about the philosophy of religion, when the stakes are eternal, it's only reasonable to get a little nervous about what's basically the ultimate final exam. But if it makes you feel any better, many philosophers have believed and still believe that death is nothing to fear.
Based. And that again to the Funk Master General.
In 399 BCE, Socrates was sentenced to death for, among other things, refusing to acknowledge the official deities of Athens, radicalizing youth, and generally honking off the people in charge. But even when he faced his own imminent death, he remained calm and unafraid. He was
a topic that brings joy.
A philosopher after all, and fear was no match for his ability to argue. Socrates
really quick, before we dive into that, I forgot, replay gang, you can probably see our running poll right now. Would you bet your life savings on whether or not an afterlife actually exists? And the options are yes, no, or I'm certain about an afterlife, but I would not bet. And right now we have 67% of you saying, yes, I would bet my life savings on whether or not there is an afterlife. That seems crazy to me. But have fun being poor. Just kidding. Let me know what you think. Replay in the comments below.
He was a philosopher after all, and fear was no match for his ability to argue. Socrates didn't think we could know if there's an afterlife or not, but he thought there were really only two possibilities.
There is, or there's not.
And as far as he was concerned, neither of them was anything to be afraid of. Here's his argument. Either death is a dreamless sleep, or death is a passage to another life. Dreamless sleeps are nice, not scary. Socrates said he could use the rest. And a passage to another life sounds good too, because he'll get to hang out with cool people from the past who have already died.
Yeah, so either you just fade off into nothingness, or you get to hang out with all the cool people ever.
Therefore, either way, death is nothing to fear. Socrates' idea of the afterlife was Hades, which he seems to have pictured as being a lot like Athens, except that no one had any physical bodies, only disembodied minds. And frankly, he thought that sounded awesome because bodies can be a real pain. They just need to be fed and required rest. There's so much upkeep. So in the afterlife, Socrates imagined he'd get to have endless philosophical conversations and continue learning new things with the greatest thinkers of the past, and they wouldn't have to take a break to eat or sleep or pee. Now, Socrates recognized.
Right? Yeah. I mean, that's the ultimate, being just stuck right in front of your favorite thing, not having to eat, sleep, or pee. Sam Marie, this is why you gotta be here. You're gonna miss those inside jokes. Guantag said, ironically, it was the humorous Buddhist ideas on death that taught me not to fear death. If the afterlife exists, then just live a good life and hope. If not, then you're dead, so you can't care at all. Bingo. Exactly, sir.
Thinkers of the past, and they wouldn't have to take a break to eat or sleep or pee. Now, Socrates recognized that although his favorite activity, philosophizing, didn't require a body, some things do, and if all of your favorite pastimes are physical, you might find the afterlife disappointing. That's why Socrates recommended spending your life looking after your mind, cultivating that part of you that you'll get to keep forever if there's an afterlife. If you do that, when the time comes for you to die, you'll actually see death as a benefit because you won't be troubled by bodily things while your mind will be in top form.
Wow. So now we're getting really far down that Buddhist type mentality, where the notion of being dead, again, should not scare you, as Gomsek was just talking about, as he is about to touch on, that dying is a different thing than being dead, and dying is definitely scary, but death itself, do we really need to fear it?
But what if there isn't an afterlife? What about that dreamless sleep that Socrates spoke about? Isn't total annihilation of the self like the scariest thing there is? Ancient Stoic philosopher Epicurus didn't think so. He lived about 100 years after Socrates and rejected belief in an afterlife altogether. Instead, he said, we are just our bodies and nothing more. But still, he didn't find death scary. Here's his argument. Death is the cessation of sensation. Good and evil only make sense in terms of sensation, so death is neither good nor evil. Epicurus was convinced that things are only evil or bad if they feel bad.
Things are only evil or bad if they feel bad. So can we come up with a
more evil? Epicurus was
can we come up with a situation where we think of something that is evil or bad, but there's no one there to be on the receiving end of that, that we would accept that, like, okay, yeah, I guess in other circumstances that would be bad. I mean, the simplest thing I could think of is, like, if there was somebody right here and I did that for no reason, that would be evil or bad, right? But because there's nobody here, not a big deal, right? I think that makes sense. Guamzak said, as Joe Rogan said, everyone wants to sleep, but nobody wants the long rest of death. I mean, speak for yourself. Sarah said, you pulled him. So wait, what? You pulled up a chat I didn't see. Are you make sure you are on the live chat. So if you in the top corner of the chat, well, it would be mirrored. So the top corner of the chat, it'll either say top chat or you can click on it and live chat, and it'll give you all of the chats. I don't know why they put it on top chat. I think it's for larger channels, so that it doesn't just, like, scroll by. Zippy said, feel equals perspective equals either evil or good. So yeah, I think we're all on the same page with that one. Carl said Socrates was allowed to drink hemlock because he had been a widely respected philosopher. The Greeks usually threw people off a cliff for corrupting the youth. The hemlock was the right. And I mean, given their, what is going on with my mouse? There we go. Yeah, I mean, corrupting the youth is definitely a big deal, right? But the other side to that is, dude was right. The people we talk about corrupting the youth today, not the same thing. Not the same thing. King of Honor said the last episode of the season of House of the Dragon is on Sunday. That is evil. I agree. I agree. I will definitely be feeling bad after that.
Evil or bad if they feel bad. And he did not mean only physical feelings. Anyone who's ever had a broken heart will tell you that it's a lot more painful and harder to heal than a broken leg. But a broken heart is still a sensation you need a body to experience. So as a materialist, someone who believed that you equals your body, death just meant non-existence. And there was nothing scary about that because, well, there won't be any you to have feelings about not existing. Epicurus argued that fearing non-existence is not only stupid, but it gets in the way of enjoying life.
Yup. Life is not a waiting room. Fearing non-existence is treating life as a waiting room. Now, okay, maybe it gets a little more complex than that. But the notion that none of this matters because I'm getting an afterlife is a scary thought to me, because I have to live on this earth with you. And whether or not that's true, I don't want you treating this life like it's not important, and less seriously, I want you to enjoy your life. Well, like I said, everyone's afraid of death, but I see it as an experience we only get one time in our life. It's scary not knowing what comes next, but we should be open to it, if only because it's once in a lifetime. It's just another natural thing we should get the most out of, like everything special to us. I mean, damn, that's the I think the most positive take on death I have ever heard. Dilly to that. Dilly. And there you go. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. So, and that's what this whole series is about, is just kind of expanding the way that we think about these things. And the idea that, oh no, death is the end. Yes, but let's just step outside that box and see where our mind goes. Where does our mind go?
You are alive and experiencing sensations now. So, he said, make those sensations as great as possible and don't worry about when those sensations are gonna stop. YOLO. To help you understand Epicurus and his attitudes about death a little better, let's head over to the thought bubble for some flash philosophy. Think about a hangover. If you haven't had one, imagine what they might be like.
Never. I've never. Hangover? I don't understand.
Hangovers aren't bad for you before you get one, right? In fact, the thing that comes before the hangover is often quite pleasant, what with the laughing and feeling uninhibited and working up the courage to talk to that cutie from your calculus class. No, the hangover is only bad while it's happening. And true, it might be bad after it's over, like if it kept you from doing well in the calculus exam the next morning because you were too busy trying not to barf in front of said cutie. But the point is, if something is bad for you, it's generally bad for you at a particular time, the way a hangover is. But Epicurus said that death can't be bad for you at any time, because once it arrives, you're gone. The thing
again, exactly what Guamtech was saying. CB says, feels more like the Abrahamics have hell for the chosen many, heaven for the chosen few, and everyone else gets non-existence. It makes reincarnation look better and better. Yeah, I would definitely, with the 50-50 shot, not knowing who God is, what God wants. If I had to pick heaven or hell or reincarnation, I think I'd go reincarnation. King Nirvana says, but if you have a soda stream water waiting for you, then you will be okay. You will be okay. I think we'll be okay. It's all gonna be all right, baby. All right. Yeah, you ain't here. So you good.
That death can't be bad for you at any time.
Is that Guy Fieri? Like,
what? Because once it arrives, you're gone. The thing that eventually kills you, yeah, that's gonna be bad for you before your death. But that's not death. When you think about it, you and death are never present at the same time. And
have you ever seen you and death in the same room at the same time? That's your summer hangovers. Well, maybe you can't trust me. Context of that said, I'm gonna fight like hell to be dragged down to that river Styx. I'm gonna make the Grim Reaper work for his pay that day. Gotcha. Samarie said, if I get to be reborn as a dragonfly, I honestly don't care. That'd be pretty cool, right? I think of all the areas of the animal kingdom, I think being an insect is probably the freest because you probably have a very short lifespan and you don't have a lot of desires. So you're just kind of existing and being happy. I mean, the only thing better has got to be, like being a dog with a good owner, right? Thanks for what are you guys talking about? Oh, I gotcha. Kelly Green said, if you live forever or all over again and again and again, then technically you have infinite times of pain, but also infinite times of pleasure. Kind of scary. That's exactly the balance of all good or all bad doesn't really exist. And so whenever you add something good to the scale, something else is going to have to balance it out. Very, very smart, sir. It said, dying is for suckers. I'm going to be alive forever.
But that's not death. When you think about it, you and death are never present at the same time. And if there's no you when death is present, then there is no time in which death is bad.
I would imagine living just kind of gets old when you're at that age, when you can't do stuff. Like what they were saying in the beginning, that if the afterlife is just disembodied, your disembodied mind, and you can't do anything, then is that really what you want? Is that really utopia? Is that really heaven? I don't know. Carl said, if I had to repeat this thing once, I would think about self-deleting next time. I don't think you're alone.
And if there's no you when death is present, then there is no time in which death is bad for you. Thanks, Thought Bubble. So things like hangovers and Charlie horses and movie spoilers are bad because you're there to experience them. But as far as Epicurus was concerned, life was like a night of drinking before the hangover that is death, which
life is like a night of drinking before the hangover that is death.
Inevitable as it is, you will never actually experience.
Whoa, bro. I like that. Life is like a night of drinking before the hangover that is death, which is inevitable as it is, you will never actually experience it. Obviously, with the hangover, you will. With death, nah. Dying? Yes. But death? No. Kelly said it might change it if you're infinitely healthy, but that sounds unlikely. Yeah. Samarie said, one is tired, and a tired body. For that sake, I must say I'm pro helping. Hey, you want to be a maid, right?
For the hangover that is death, which, inevitable as it is, you will never actually experience. Now, the 21st century has its own perspectives on death, and one might be best described as a kind of philosophical FOMO. Contemporary American philosopher Thomas Nagel points out that some people dread death because they'll miss out on things that they want to experience. If you died right now, you'd never get to finish that video game you're in the middle of, or read the next George R.R. Martin book, or see humans land on Mars.
I will tell you that, me and Akon, for those of you who don't know, my best friend died in 2013 on a motorcycle accident. But we used to watch Breaking Bad every week together, and then he didn't get to finish it. And I remember thinking about, like, on the day when we're at the hospital, one of the not the first thoughts, but one of the things still, while I'm still at the hospital, oh man, he's never going to get to see the end of this. He's never going to get to see the end of Breaking Bad. And then, of course, as we all do, we make it about ourselves. I'm like, well, I'm not going to be able to get to watch it with him. But yeah, that's a very poignant thing. What do you mean? Not going there. Not going there. Breaking Bad is TV at its peak. Thank you very, very much.
Which would suck, yeah. But think about it like this. Cool stuff was going on way before you were born, and you missed it. I'm going to make some assumptions about your age here and say that you weren't listening when Orson Welles terrified the nation with the War of the Worlds.
You don't know how old I am, see?
You didn't march on Washington. You totally missed Woodstock. So Nagel asks, if you don't feel some sort of deep sense of loss at what you missed before you were even alive, why should you feel loss at what you'll miss after you die?
And this is similar to the notion of being, thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Kelly. The notion of why death is so scary if you've already experienced non-existence. It's like, people are so afraid of Trump getting in office as if he's going to become a dictator. It's like, we already did this. We already did this. We already not existed. So you just go back to not existing. Again, dying, scary. Not being alive, very less scary. I mean, what's the word I'm looking for? It's concerning in terms of the uncertainty, but I'm good. Yeah, he never got to see Hank figure it all out on the bowl. And I mean, he was Jewish, but actually, I'm just now realizing I do not know if Judaism believes in an afterlife. Somebody TLDR that for me. I don't feel like Googling, but either way, point is he is Jewish, but if he was up there, if there isn't up there for him to be, he was definitely watching with me. And I agree, King Nirvana, Better Call Saul, maybe just as good, if not better. Okay, we're gonna do a short aside on this because I love this universe. This is the best universe on screen, and so I think that Better Call Saul is a better show. It's a better story. However, in terms of the medium of TV and what can be done in week-to-week episodic or serialized episodes that each one has to have a thing, Breaking Bad did it way better. The action of Breaking Bad is so much more than anything you get with Better Call Saul that even though the story itself is better, I think the like let's say that just based on story, we got Breaking Bad here and we got Better Call Saul here, and then if we add the action factors, then it goes like that, and Breaking Bad is at the top. So I mean, but that universe is just perfect. I love El Camino as well. It's just beautifully done. I don't think that will ever be outdone. So my main objection is it could have been compressed in 3 seasons and it would have been a better show. I'll if you say that's your only your main objection. I was going to say if that's your only objection, I will say that when I do rewatch it, I do rewatch especially the first couple of seasons sped up. But I think as the show itself, it needed to be at that pace because of the pace that ended up being specifically Breaking Bad, the pace that we ended up seeing at the end of the series. I won't spoil anything just in case. But that pace needed to be juxtaposed from the beginning of how that started. And they did that so well that that's why a lot of people didn't like a Better Call Saul, because they expected, they remembered Breaking Bad being this crazy, hyped up, action-packed show when it never was, except for a few episodes. But hey, we got Liberty Twitcher in the building. Welcome to the party. Said Breaking Bad is the best series that has ever been in the history of the world. Agreed. Spoilers. Relax, bro. Relax. Actually, I don't care. It's been out for a while. If you don't know, you don't know. I'm not gonna say it. I'm not gonna pull it up, but whatever. But yes, both were absolutely outstanding. I don't know if we're gonna get something like that on TV ever again. All right, diving back in. Nick said, Jews' belief that life never ends. It just goes higher and higher. In the afterlife, the soul is liberated from the body and returns closer to her source than ever before. Samarie said, Jews are the people of God, and they are granted the greatness of the greatness of something. Oh, gotcha. And okay, so I thought so, but I was like, I know they don't call it heaven, but the hey, I don't know if you're being sarcastic here, but the storytelling in that episode was brilliant. Was it a little bit slow? Yes. Did it have amazing themes? Absolutely. All right, let's dive back in here.
Totally missed Woodstock. So Nagel asks, if you don't feel some sort of deep sense of loss at what you missed before you were even alive, why should you feel loss at what you'll miss after you die? Now, Nagel does point out that if we believe that life is essentially good, then there is something to mourn when a life is cut short. Since humans can live on average for about 80 years, someone dying at the age of 20 is a tragedy because that person missed out on 60 possible years of good time.
Sure, but there's a very different a mindset of being scared of my own mortality versus the experience of losing somebody else. I don't think anybody's questioning that it makes sense to be sad that when you lose somebody. I get, I mean, think about if you lose an object that you like. If you lose your phone, you're going to be upset because it's not there anymore. So I think I mean, maybe he'll tie them together, but those are two very, very different concepts.
Age of 20 is a tragedy because that person missed out on 60 possible years of good times. But we should pause here to talk about what you really value about life, because that will also have an impact on what you think about death in general, or about the death of a particular person. If you say that life is just always inherently good, then you're said to place a high value on the sanctity of life. It doesn't matter what the content of that life looks like or what the person is like. The fact that they're alive is just good. So losing it would not be good. But if you think that quality of life is what's important, then you're going to want to distinguish between lives that are full of good experiences and those that aren't.
And of course, this is where your abortionists will come in and be, well, they don't have quality of life, so who cares? And personally, not personally, what's the word I use? Just honestly, that's how I used to think as well, until I learned better. Ironically, I was a Christian, all being, I wouldn't say pro-abortion, but openly pro-choice. And now, as an atheist, only have I come to the realization that the only reason I cannot be legally pro-life is because I don't trust the government. It should be unthinkable.
What's important, then you're going to want to distinguish between lives that are full of good experiences and those that aren't. If you value quality of life, you don't think that there's something inherently valuable about merely being alive. So in these terms, some deaths might actually be positive or valuable, like if they bring about an end to a terrible, painful existence.
Ooh, so good question. Definitely you have to watch Breaking Bad. I would say I think Breaking Bad is better. I think Yellowstone is good, but there's a lot of like, hey, finally, there's the politics on our side. Good story, good character development. It's just not on the same level. So personally, I would want to watch Yellowstone first and then keep Breaking Bad as the grand finale. But if you're like, no, I want to watch the best one first, then absolutely. Definitely watch Breaking Bad and do not listen to King and do not watch Saul first. That is terrible, 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 terrible advice. Do not do that. Yeah. Shout out to Janus. Welcome to the party. Yeah, Breaking Bad is far superior. So I would say whichever, if you want to watch the best one immediately, yes, go watch Breaking Bad. And then Better Call Saul. Because even though it is set earlier, there's big, huge spoilers for things that you're not going to want to see. So Breaking Bad first, then Better Call Saul, and there's major spoilers. That's why it's a prequel and not the first thing. That's why it came out afterwards. There's major, major spoilers for what happens to the main characters in Better Call Saul, because it assumes that you watch the show that it's based on. I always am, baby. I always am.
Might actually be inherently valuable about merely being alive. So in these terms, some deaths might actually be positive or valuable, like if they bring about an end to a terrible, painful existence.
That's what the Canadians are saying. Oh, mate, it's bringing an end to a terrible, painful existence.
Now, of course, it might make sense to be afraid of dying itself, because the process of dying can be painful and drawn out and involves saying a lot of difficult goodbyes. So maybe Socrates and Epicurus have convinced you that fearing your own death is absurd. Well, then what about the death of others? Is it equally silly to fear the death of people you love? Probably so, say some philosophers, because what you're fearing isn't actually death. What you're afraid of is being left behind alone when a loved one dies. And this
being left alone. So I think this is probably a big part of it. What you're fearing isn't actually death. What you're afraid of is being left behind when your loved one dies. Possibly. But I think the act of not being, the notion of not being here, the thought of non-existence, is absolutely inherently scary to people.
This is a good place to hear from ancient Chinese Taoist philosopher Zhuangzi. He lived about the same time as Epicurus and believed that there's no reason to fear the death of your loved ones. He asked, Why would you fear the inevitable? We know that death is going to happen to everyone, and we also know that it's a part of the life cycle.
Yeah, but that's a stupid fucking question. That's a stupid fucking question. If it's inevitable that somebody's gonna, beat your face in within an inch of death, why would you fear that? It's not like it would hurt. What are you talking about?
We know that death is going to happen to everyone, and we also know that it's a part of the life cycle. And we don't see any other part of that cycle as being bad. Wouldn't it be silly, he said, if we mourned the loss of our babies when they became toddlers, or our children when they became teens?
Yes, because they're still there, unlike when they die, and they're no longer there, at least in terms of our experience. I'm not down with this Ching Chong guy. Sam Marie, so when it comes to life and death, sorry to say, we need to readapt to natural selection, as that's what we are truly returning to. Well said. Oh my goodness, shout out again to our boy. Making it rain, Zippy over with the Rumble rants. So a thing death is. Life is a thing as well. Do not do better. Do the thing good enough. Damn it, Yoda, get out of my head. Indeed. Love it. Thank you. Very, very much. Very much appreciated. And look who we got here. We got Stephen Colbert Cheese in the building. Yeah, I go by absurdist more so, but yes, definitely an existentialist. Welcome to the party. Quantec said, this makes me wonder how many great philosophers had children. Logic aside, it's impossible not to fear the heck out of you with your living children. It's a good point. I wouldn't, yeah. There had to be, it couldn't have been that uncommon. I would assume that the number is lower than, just average population. I think that's a safe assumption. But I don't know. That's a good question. I would have no idea, but yeah, good question. Kayla Green. So that's like saying if you were a Jew, why fear the gas chambers? We're all getting exactly that. What? Yeah. Like, come on. Stephen Goldpair Cheese is an existentialist. Word up. Same team. Boom. All right, we going to the thought bowl?
We celebrate every other life milestone with birthday parties, bar mitzvahs, and graduations to mark the passage of time and the changes that have come. Sure, your parents might shed some tears when they pack you off to college, but they also knew that day was going to come when you would move away from them and onto your own life.
But you also didn't die.
Death, according to Zhuangzi, is just one more change. Why?
Yeah, Zhuangzi, not a fan of Zhangzhua.
From them and onto your own life. So death, according to Zhuangzi, is just one more change. Why treat it differently? Instead, he said,
because it's a big change.
The death of a loved one, just as you celebrated every other life change they experienced.
Well, and isn't that exactly what Guantech just said about the notion of this is a unique experience in life, and that we can look at it that way. And so I don't think that this is wrong. I don't think that when somebody dies, it's that you shouldn't want to celebrate them. But why would you not be upset? Like, if you don't have the thing. The thing is the person that you like, and you don't have that anymore. Why would you not? Why would you celebrate that? Kelly said it's like the sayings, everything happens for a reason. Yeah, but what kind of reason? It might be a very bad reason. Bingo. I don't like those generalities to make people feel better about dire existential matters. Well said. I am not putting that on screen, Stephen Colbert, but I like what Kelly said, for sure.
Death, according to Zhuangzi, is just one more change. Why treat it differently? Instead, he said, you should celebrate the death of a loved one just as you celebrated every other life change they experienced. You should think of their death as a going away party for a grand journey. In his view,
okay, but wait. I've had going away parties for people who were going in other places on the earth to do things. And I was still sad at those parties because I would no longer have my friend around. That doesn't mean we didn't celebrate the person, going to do whatever they did. You can do both. You can be sad that somebody is leaving and also celebrate why they're leaving, or the fact that they lived a great life, or whatever it is. These are not mutually exclusive, and I don't understand why we're putting them together like this. Here, I'll come back to this. Let me just finish this one up, and we'll come back.
Time for the people you love to move on, Zhuangzi said. The last thing you should do is hold them closer. Today, we talked about death. We considered philosophical responses from Socrates, Epicurus, and Zhuangzi about whether it's logical to fear your own death or the deaths of your loved ones.
Yes.
And we talked about Thomas Nagel, death, and fear of missing out. This episode's philosophy.
Elmo! All right, so Carl said, I think there is a good argument that most philosophers have been highly dysfunctional people, and their views on everything could be dismissed in light of their autism. Trying to flesh it out. Let me know. Let me know when you do. Most Africans do celebrate. I'll take your word for it. But yeah, I mean, like, again, there's this notion of celebrating that, celebrating that a person lived and had a life, and all that stuff. Celebrating that doesn't need to come at the expense of feeling sadness. That's what is it, Zhang Zhua, or whatever the hell his name is. That's what he made it seem like. And that don't sit with me. Zibby said, be Scots Irish, death is a party. Life is a party. Booze time is all times. Well, when in Rome or Ireland or wherever, right? So let's move on to Batman. Yes, Batman. And identity.
There's an ancient Greek legend about a ship that launched from the port.
Oh, actually, before we do this, are you familiar with the ship of Theseus? And if you watched WandaVision, then you cannot say no. Well, if you paid attention to WandaVision, then you can't say no. So between WandaVision and Batman, we got some stuff to suck you in. Suck you in, you know what I'm saying? King of Honor said, I'm not sure you get much choice on how you feel after a death. Good point. I think the larger point, or the larger, like, what he was actually trying to say is not that you have to control, like, I think the notion is that, like, just to offer a different perspective, that, hey, this is a celebration. And upon hearing that, using that perspective to change your emotions around. I don't think you get to choose, but yeah, agreed. Stephen Colbert says philosophers who aren't naturalists are just puff and smoke. I agree. Guamtech said, I love the ship of Theseus. Such a good question to ponder on. So we said, ship of Theseus, yes. Hodgepodge and muddling through. What is this kidding do? All right, so 60% of you so far are saying no. What did Carl say? Oh, the good argument about them all having autism. Samarie said, very valid take. Most intelligent people are on the spectrum and not necessarily likable. Bless their intelligence, though. Fair enough. All right, let's see what we got.
Theseus.
With the world.
There's an ancient Greek legend about a ship that launched from the port of Theseus and sailed around the world. Probably not around the whole world, just around the world. During its journey, the ship encountered many dangers. Storms ravaged its sails, which had to be replaced. The floorboards gradually gave way and had to be changed out one by one. Eventually, crew members decided that they liked the look of some island or another along the way and stayed behind. And as the ship sailed on, more and more of it and its crew was replaced until finally, not a single original plank of wood or hand on deck remained.
So again, typically, well, before we get there, typically the what they'll say is that, like they're saying, they're sailing around and, one plank has to be replaced, and so the original plank is taken out and they put a new one in, and they do this one at a time, and at no point are you completely making a new ship or anything. You're just replacing parts. At what point?
Now here's the question. When the ship finally returned to Theseus, was it the same ship that left? The answer, whether we can find it or not, lies in the concept of identity.
Identity. So if every single piece of wood and every single person who was on the ship that left, that's the ship of Theseus, and before coming back, every single piece had been replaced, but at no point did did we rebuild anything? It's just it's replacing parts. Is that still the same ship? Is that the same ship, or is it a different ship?
Left. The answer, whether we can find it or not, lies in the concept of identity. Philosophers describe identity as the relation that a thing bears only to itself.
And we have a big issue with how people understand identity today. This is the whole trans thing, is that I need an identity. And instead of developing a personality and identifying with that, they take on a pronoun and identify with that.
So whatever makes a thing uniquely what it is defines its identity. And if two things are identical, they're said to share an identity relation. Now, whether two things are the same might seem blindingly obvious, but of course it isn't, because philosophy.
So he said it's the same ship, it's just been broken in its repairs. Now, if it was upgraded and overhauled, then no, it's a new ship. Okay, fair enough. Stephen Colbert said, "Oh, I know the ship of Theseus. Just forgot what it was called." Yeah, a lot of these they have catchy names, but if you forget the name, you probably heard of the concept before. And like I said, this is what they use in WandaVision at the end, where spoiler alert, where White Vision comes and they're whatever, and then regular Vision is brings up literally just explains that whole thing. And White Vision's like, well, am I Vision or are you Vision? And flies away, and we haven't seen him since.
The same might seem blindingly obvious, but of course it isn't, because philosophy. The philosophy of identity can get pretty slippery, largely because, like the ship of Theseus, things change. And when they do, they eventually stop being what they are and become something else. This goes not just for mythological ships, but for all kinds of things. Like this mug can acquire a new identity, and this money, and you, and even
Batman. There we go. Now you're on the right track. Every woman gets a boob job and Botox. Is she the same woman? It depends on how you define that woman. Not what is a woman, but that woman. TFTBA.
So
somebody let me know. $5.
Is Batman identical to Bruce Wayne? And
Ooh. Okay, we are ending this poll with so a bunch of you. So I'm gonna call that 50-50. I'll assume somebody said no. Are Bruce? Come on, Bruce Wayne and Batman the same person? Or same person? Did he say the same thing?
So riddle me this: is Batman?
Okay, so is Batman or is Bruce Wayne identical to Batman? Let me know what you think, replay gang, in the comments below. Again, it's up to there's no right answer, so it's up to you to decide what you think is true and what is right. Because unlike there's no objective right answer. Context said, "I love the question of if Batman identified as Batman or if he's completely different. He literally changed his psychology to become a completely different person under the cowl." CB said, "Half the issues with modern identity comes down to life being so easy. The more free time you have, the more free time you have to enhance your neuroses." Yep. Samarie said, "Just like the deal with if genitalia does not matter, why would one need to operate it on?" Yeah, I got you. If it doesn't matter, why you got to chop it off? Steven, so there's no right answer on if sex is binary? No, that does have a right answer, just not everything does. Guamtech, so Bruce Wayne can think as Batman, but Batman can't think as Bruce Wayne. All frogs are toads, but not all toads are, or is it the other way around? But you know what I mean. Sibby says they're the same. Let's see. So wow, 71% of you are saying Bruce Wayne and Batman are identical. So let's see what we've got to say.
So riddle me this. Is Batman identical to Bruce Wayne? And when I say identical, I don't mean that they just look alike. I mean that they share the same identity. They're literally one and the same. So you might think the answer is yes. Bruce Wayne and Batman are identical because everyone knows that Bruce Wayne is the man behind the cowl. Not only that, you might say Bruce Wayne is the very essence of Batman. He saw his parents get killed in that alley. He became the Dark Knight. No one else could take his place. But hold up, people have taken his place. It turns out that
Whoopsie. So, yes, bimodal. Yep, there's two categories. There may be some overlap, like that boxer. That boxer is not a transgender man. That boxer in the Olympics is a non-biological, or how do they refer to her? Non-biological female? Or biological non-female? Or something like that. She is in one of those intersex positions. But there is no third category. There's just the mixing of the two categories. So bimodal. I agree with you, sir.
one else could take his place. But hold up, people have taken his place. It turns out that Dick Grayson, the original Robin, has pinch hit for Batman, donning the cape and cowl to protect the streets of Gotham in his boss's absence. And so has Police Commissioner Jim Gordon. After Bruce Wayne was reported dead, he reluctantly accepted the role himself. Both of
Wow, I didn't know that. And didn't they just drop some? I was just going through my YouTube subscriptions, and I think there's a new animated Batman. I don't know if it's a show or if it's a season of a show, but go on there, check that out. Hey, look who we got! We got the God Daddy himself. The God Daddy himself, Cody Brooks. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the party. Always great to see you, sir. What does Cody say? If Bruce Wayne isn't identical to Bruce Wayne, then it admits that the Batman character is fake in his morality. In terms of using a new character to play Batman, you're just adjusting the suit. You didn't earn it through fear and overcoming it. So then, are you saying that just because Dick Grayson or Commissioner Gordon wore the suit, that they were not Batman? Right? In terms of using a new character to play Batman, you're just you're adjusting the suit. I like that. I like that idea that you could, just because I wear a mask of Trump, that doesn't make me Trump. It just anybody could wear that mask. Interesting. Welcome to the party, God Daddy. Sexist binary is incorrect then. Correct. Zippy said, on a side note, as the spider people gain energy powers, the classic Parker gets cooler and cooler. Fair enough. Bruce was just a schizo. Cody said, I'm saying Iron Man gave his suit to Rhodes, and Rhodes was not Iron Man. He was War Machine. True. But what if, because that was at least I don't know the comics, so I'm going by the movies. So that was the Mark II suit though, right? So what if he had called himself Iron Man instead of War Machine? Would you accept Rhodey as Iron Man? Let's just say for whatever reason Tony Stark gets killed and Rhodey takes the suit and just takes on the mantle of Iron Man. Are you saying he's not Iron Man? He just has Iron Man's suit. Or is that a different thing? Because specifically with Batman, the fear and overcoming that stuff is essential to his identity. Yeah, Glomtech agrees. I'm not wearing hockey pads. Never meant so much to me. Zippy said, Batman is Batman. Bad people are bad people. Spider something is... All right. Okay. All right.
Jim Gordon. After Bruce Wayne was reported dead, he reluctantly accepted the role himself. Both of those guys have been Batman. So if the person inside the costume doesn't make Batman Batman, then what does? 17th century German philosopher Gottfried Wilhelm Leibniz came up with a principle that might help us solve the puzzle of who Batman is. He called it the indiscernibility of identicals. The idea is that if any two things are identical, then they must share all the same properties.
All the same properties. So that's getting into the minutia of identical. And so by this definition, of course, Batman wears a mask and Bruce Wayne does not wear a mask. So by this definition, then they are not identical. Cody said character development versus technology. Ever watched Equilibrium? I don't. Maybe. I don't think so. Was that Jake Gyllenhaal? Not Jake Gyllenhaal. Who? I don't think so. I don't think I saw that one. So Zippy said Iron Man is more of a generic type of hero. So that's what I was asking if that's specific to Batman. King said there's only one original. Under a mask, you are whoever you are. I think, but I stay confused. Okay, but does that mean that so only the first person who wears a particular mask can be that person? Because let's say that Dick Grayson did go through the whole character development that Bruce Wayne had to before he took on the suit. Would he be Batman then? And if he's not, then who is he? Gomtek said when Dr. Doom took the suit, he was the superior Iron Man, completely different character. Is Downey Jr. more Iron Man or is Elon? Definitely Downey. Fogmaster said they both can't have the same name. That might get confusing on a flight.
If Leibniz is right, then the ship of Theseus became a new ship as soon as that first plank of wood was replaced. As soon as its parts were not all original, then the ship suddenly acquired a new property, and with a new property came a new identity. So likewise, Bruce Wayne and Batman can't be identical because they have different properties. Bruce Wayne,
So 75% of you got that wrong. They cannot, according to that definition, they cannot be identical. Because it means having all of the same characteristics, and they don't all have the same characteristics. King said, only Indian Jesus can be Indian Jesus, even if I stole your name and get surgery to look like you. I think I get to decide that. If I were to dub somebody else as the Indian Jesus, why would that be invalid? Christian Bale. Okay, I was going to say that, but I don't think I saw that one now. Point is that he's only story arc in the midst of a communism, globalized equality. Damn, guess I'm gonna have to check that one out. Gontek said, okay, and I don't want to get too caught up on comic book lore. There's just a stand-in. Batman is just a stand-in for the idea of identity. We don't need to get down. That's not what we're doing here. Gontek said even Catwoman divorced Batman because she wasn't even sure if she was in love with Batman or Bruce Wayne. They were completely different from each other. Well said. And yeah, so I think I get to decide that at the very least, if I were like the Indian Jesus, I'm just, I think that's on me, but point taken. All right.
Bruce Wayne and Batman can't be identical because they have different properties. Bruce Wayne, for example, has the property of being a millionaire playboy, but Batman doesn't. That guy is all business. Meanwhile, Batman has the property of having fought the Joker, but Bruce Wayne doesn't. And the different versions of Batman aren't identical to each other either, because the person wearing the costume, even if it's the exact same costume, which it usually isn't, is going to have different combat techniques and even, say, a different moral code. So, is there a limit to how much something can change and still be the same thing?
That it goes back to the, is there a limit to what can be changed and it's still being the same thing? When I talk about the ship of Theseus, the question I like to ask is, if the person says that it's a different ship, then at what point did it become a different ship? Because remember, they're just doing one plank at a time. He said, identity politics. Did Batman identify as a mouse before his wings came in the mail? You'd have to ask him. let's head to the thought bubble.
Let's head over to the thought bubble for some flash philosophy. Think about this puzzler, originally offered by contemporary American philosopher Alan Gibbard. A sculptor takes a lump of clay and names it Lumpel. She then forms Lumpel into a statue, which she names Goliath. Are Lumpel and Goliath identical? Our intuition might say yes, because they're composed of exactly the same amount of the same physical stuff. It's been kneaded and molded into a different shape, but still no part of Lumpel is not Goliath, and no part of Goliath is not Lumpel. But consider this. If we wreck this statue and smush it into a big blob, Goliath is gone because part of what it means to be Goliath is to be shaped like a statue. But Lumpel, being a lump, doesn't have a set shape, so it will remain after Goliath has been destroyed. So on one hand, Gibbard observed, Lumpel and Goliath seem to be identical because they're the same exact thing, just in different shapes. But
all right, so this is a lot. So Lumpel is, because Lumpel doesn't have the same characteristics, then the parameters for identifying it as such are lower. So you can there's not as many parameters. Like, to use the woke thing, in order to be a black trans I don't know all the things, but in order to be the top of the oppression Olympics, you have to have all of those things. And if you don't have any one of those things, then you're not at the top. Whereas if to just be a person, all you have to do is be alive. And so the one category is a lot easier. One category of identification is a lot easier to meet. Let's go back.
And smush it into their Goliath, a name offered by
all
contemporary American philosopher Alan Gibbard. A sculptor takes a lump of clay and names it Lumpel. She then forms Lumpel into a statue, which she names Goliath.
So we have the statue made out of Lumpel that is now no longer Lumpel and is Goliath.
Are Lumpel and Goliath identical? Our intuition might say yes, because they're composed of exactly the same amount of the same physical stuff.
But as we said before, it has to have all of the identical properties.
It's been kneaded and molded into a different shape, but still no part of Lumpel is not Goliath, and no part of Goliath is not Lumpel. But consider this. If we wreck the statue and smush it into a big blob, Goliath is gone because part of what it means to be Goliath is to be shaped like a statue. But Lumpel, being a lump, doesn't have a set shape, so it will remain after Goliath has been destroyed.
So even if, and yeah, Kamala, good one. So even if we were to say that Lumpel, because the actual shape, the specific shape was not part of the essence of Lumpel, that even if you take Lumpel and you smushed it down a little bit, it could still be Lumpel. I mean, again, that's up to her. She determines what that is. That's her creation. But unless we are naming this as it is Lumpel, and then you change it, it's no longer Lumpel, and just it's a pile or whatever of clay, then you could change the shape and it would stay the same. Whereas Goliath, because it has a specific shape in its essence, then you can't change that. Trying to blockbusting. What are y'all talking about?
Lump doesn't have a set shape, so it will remain after Goliath has been destroyed. So on one hand, Gibbard observed, Lumpel and Goliath seem to be identical because they're the same exact thing, just in different shapes. But on the other hand, how can Lumpel and Goliath be identical if one can exist while the other does not? Thanks, Thought Bubble. One way to try and make sense of identity and explain how an object endures over time is by making a distinction between what we call essential and accidental properties.
So this is exactly where I was going. There is no essential property to Lumpel in the example that we just got about what size it is, whereas the statue of Goliath does have essential properties of its shape. Because it's clay, yeah.
Essential properties are the core elements needed for a thing to be the thing that it is. Accidental properties are traits that could be taken away from an object without making it a different thing. Think about a dog. A dog without a tail is still a dog. Give him a shave or a silly poodle do, don't let it bark, you still have a dog. So all those things are accidental properties, and they're pretty easy to pick out. But it can be really tough to find its essential properties, the things that if they were absent would make the dog not a dog anymore.
So let's think about that. What would it take for Morty to no longer be in the category of dog? You would have to, like, what makes a dog a dog? It has to be the type of genetics. I mean, obviously, if it was a different animal, it'd be a different animal. But all right, let's keep going. I don't really have a good example there.
Essential properties, the things that if they were absent would make the dog not a dog anymore. And the more something changes, the harder it can be to determine its identity. A tree can lose its leaves and still be a tree, but if you cut the tree up and make it into a bunch of notebooks, is it still a tree? And if you think a notebook is not a tree, then at what point in the process did the tree lose its treeness? Was it
Or at what point did the ship of Theseus not be the ship of Theseus? Shout out again to our sponsor, Funk Master General. Let's all celebrate their third super chat on a live stream ever. Ironically, the third one on this one. So I don't know if anybody's getting the joke, but thank you, out sponsoring yourself. Thank you very, very much. We also got a super chat here from Sarah Marie. Thank you. Where did my applause go? There we go. Thank you. Here, let's go. Here, eat it up. There you go. Thank you, guys. Thank you. So very, very much appreciate. Everybody hit those like buttons on the super chats, especially if you're not super chatting. Thank you, guys.
book is not a tree, then at what point in the process did the tree lose its treeness? Was it when it was cut down and thus no longer living? Maybe, but isn't a dead tree still a tree? Or did it happen when the tree was cut into pieces and was lying on the ground? Did it make a difference when those pieces were collected? How about when they were ground up into pulp? The tree stopped being a tree when its essential property was lost, but when exactly that happened, it depends on your perspective. Plus, many thinkers reject the concept of essential properties altogether.
Shout out to Norway. Thank you very much again.
On your perspective. Plus, many thinkers reject the concept of essential properties altogether. Existentialists, for example, deny the very existence of essential properties, and ancient Greek philosopher Heraclitus famously said that you can't step in the same river twice. What he meant was, nothing is identical to itself because everything, including both you and the river, is changing all the time.
You can't step in the same river twice. Of course, you can step in whatever river or creek or whatever. You can do it multiple times, but every time you do it, it's not identical to the creek, river, or whatever that you got before. Did I miss anything? Zippy said, a tree is wood, but is morning wood a tree? Depends on who you are.
So not only is the ship of Theseus a new ship by the time it gets back to Theseus, but it was a new ship the first time anything about it changed. Now, it's amusing enough to think about whether ships and trees endure over time or what makes Batman Batman, but ultimately, why should you care? How does this affect your life? Well, if objects are important to you, then you'll want to know whether you have the same object that you think you have.
And we can replace object with God.
Are important to you.
If God is important to you,
then you'll want to know whether you have the same object that you think you have. And when it comes to tangible stuff, we tend to value persistent identity. If you take $20 out of my wallet and buy lunch and then stop by an ATM and replace it, is the money that you gave me identical to what I had this morning? If Nick breaks my favorite coffee mug here and replaces it with a new one and I can't tell the difference, do I still have the same mug I started with? What if your dog runs away while I'm house sitting for?
Do not even say that. You are not replacing my dog and calling it my dog.
For you, and I replace your dog with a new dog that is so similar you can't tell.
How dare you?
I would be able to tell.
Is it the same dog? What's the difference between the money and the cups and the dogs? Philosophers actually have a word that explains why we think one $20 bill is the same as another, but one corgi isn't the same as her cosmetically identical sister.
Shout out to King Nirvana. Thank you for hanging out, brother. Make sure you hit that like button on the way out if you have not done so already. Thank you so much for being here. And always keep those pre-nubs ready to go. If Morty eats too many treats and weighed twice as much, he'd still be Morty.
Bill is the same as another, but one corgi isn't the same as her cosmetically identical sister. It's fungibility, the property of being interchangeable with other objects of the same kind.
And I think you probably have heard this word a lot more recently since NFTs came out, the non-fungible tokens. That's what they're referring to. The fungibility. Is it the same if you swap it out? And so money is fungible because even though if I give you a $20 bill and you give me a different $20 bill, it's not the identical bill. It's still going to have the same value.
It's fungibility, the property of being interchangeable with other objects of the same kind. Most people think that money is fungible because it's just a placeholder for the value it represents, and the value is what we really care about. As long as there's a $20 bill in my wallet to buy me some nice Thai drunken noodles, I really don't care whether it's the same one I put there or not, though.
But my dog ain't the same.
I would like to know what you're doing digging around in my wallet. Now, the coffee mug. This one's interesting. It seems like what matters here is why that mug that Nick broke was my favorite. If I loved it because it's the perfect size and shape to fit in my hands and it keeps my coffee warm, then I'd probably be just as happy with a new one. So in that case, the mug appears to be fungible. But if I love the mug for personal reasons, like say it was the first Crash Course Philosophy mug ever manufactured, or it was a gift from my dad, then a new one, even if it's cosmetically the same, wouldn't mean the same thing to me. Because it might be that what I care about isn't the mug at all, but some sort of abstract idea behind the mug, like my love for Crash Course or the connection between my dad and me. And then
whoa, that got a little deep. Shout out to Guam Tech for the $5 Venmo. So thankful for the philosophy. You are very, very welcome. Thank you for being here, enjoying this with me. Thank you so very, very much. Big shout out to our boy, Guam Tech. Oh my goodness. Again, right as soon as King leaves. 5 gifted memberships. Oh my goodness. Thank you. Morty is getting fat tonight. Morty is getting fat tonight. Shout out to Damaris Insight, Monkey King Metals, Caleb, and Dan Jensen. Where's Dan been? It's been a while since we've seen Dan, but if you are not already in the Discord server, make sure you join. It's free to join, but there is member stuff in there, and now GuamTech has just given you access to that. All you got to do, join the Discord and send me a DM and be like, yo, I got gifted a membership, and you're in. We have the after party as soon as this is over, and that is included. Thank you so very, very much, sir.
Behind the mug, like my love for Crash Course or the connection between my dad and me. In any case, I gotta ask, Nick, just be more careful when you're around my stuff. Today, we learned about different ways of understanding identity, including the indiscernibility of identicals and essential and accidental properties. We thought about how change does and doesn't affect identity and what it means for a thing to persist over time. And next time, we're gonna take what we learned about identity and apply it to personal identity, thinking about what connects this guy to me. This episode, Crash Course Philosophy, is produced in association with PBS Digital Studios. You can head over to their channel to check out some amazing shows like The Art Assignment, Blank on Blank, and Braincraft. This episode of Crash Course was filmed in the Dr. Cheryl C. Kinney Crash Course studio with the help of all of these awesome people.
All right, so we're moving on now to not just identity, but personal identity. Personal identity. How is that going to fit in? And very close to our trans stuff again. Did I miss anything here? Guantex said, I would love to see whoever got memberships in the Discord tonight. I said, shit, me too. Samari said, oh, is Guamtech a true Samaritan or what? I said, hell yeah. Yummy. Religion is a face on a dog. Is a face on a dog. Are you talking about the meme? Are you talking about the dog butt meme? Other than that, no, I don't know what that's from. Sarah said, crap, not being able to access the after party yet. We'll cherish every moment spent here. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And we have a good time here, right? We have a good time. We have a good time. I'm going to be honest with you. I was looking forward to hanging out with you guys all day. All day. So let's dive into this one.
Who is the doctor? Is it this guy or this one? How about him? As any good Whovian knows, the answer is yes, all of them.
I've never seen Doctor Who, so you guys might need to fill me in here.
But also, wait. No. In the show Doctor Who, each incarnation of the Doctor...
yeah. Why can't you access the after party? You remember. If you just click on that, good catch. Yeah, you're a member. So if you just click and send me a DM, you will have access. You can computer, laptop, phone, all that stuff. So yeah, come through.
All of them. But also, wait. No. In the show Doctor Who, each incarnation of the Doctor has a completely different body, different mannerisms, likes and dislikes, and to some extent, memories. So, how are they all the Doctor? Science fiction is great at giving us scenarios to grapple with that seem far out and only barely possible. But when you think about it, the issue of who is who isn't really that much.
Yeah, girl. So yeah, you are because of being a member on YouTube, you get full access to the Discord. So again, if you're not already in the Discord, just click that link. Nick just posted it a few chats ago, and then I should be able to see it, but I'll make sure you have the access and you can be in there tonight.
Possible. But when you think about it, the issue of who is who isn't really that much more clear-cut in real life. The fact is, you can take the same questions I asked about the Doctor and ask them about anyone. Like me. I mean, are these people any more similar to each other than these people?
Huh? I didn't get that.
Last time we talked about identity, or basically what makes an object the same over time. And the concept can get more complex when we talk about our own identity, or the identity of others. When talking about ships or trees, we might be willing to say, yeah, okay, that's just not the same thing it used to be. But when we're talking about, say, me, I have the strong belief that I am the same person that Mom and Dad brought home from the hospital back in 1980.
Now, remember, this was, what, 8 years ago? 8 years ago. So I don't know how well, I'm pretty sure, I don't remember, I haven't seen this in years, but I'm pretty sure that like trans stuff does not come up at all with this. So it's gonna be up to us to plug in how this 8-year-old video is spot on about the bullshit that we see in politics.
Strong belief that I am the same person that Mom and Dad brought home from the hospital back in 1980. I'm the same kid that cut his hand open on that broken flower pot. I have the scar to prove it. And there's some guy in the future,
shout out to Trump,
who's still gonna be me, even though he'll be all stooped over and wrinkled and gray. Oh, at least I hope. And you probably think of yourself in the same way, that you'll keep being the same person from birth to death. But you could argue, and some have, that the only thing that really remains constant about you your whole life is your name.
What about your stream of consciousness?
And for some of us, even that changes. Philosophers have struggled with the issue of personal identity for a long time, trying to find that special something, that essential property that makes you you, the thing that preserves your identity through time and through all the changes that come with it. Let's take a look at some of the ideas they've come up with. First, there's the body theory. This is the sort of default position that most people have, and the assumption that Doctor Who messes with so badly.
Is it worth like looking up? I honestly, really quick, just do a cursory Google search on, because I just literally have no idea what this show is about. Okay. Shout out to Wikipedia for finally getting dark mode. Doctor Who's a British science fiction television show since 1963. I want like a serious. I want like, okay, Doctor Who follows the adventures of the title character, a rogue Time Lord with somewhat unknown origins, goes by the Doctor. Doctor fled some planet of the Time Lords in a stolen time and relative dimensions in space machine. Okay. That's the phone booth thing, right? Across time and space, doctor's many incantations often find events that pique their curiosity and try to prevent evil forces from harming innocent people. Okay, got it. So just time travel shenanigans, and they're the good guys. Got it. Glomtech said stream of consciousness ends every day, though. No, it doesn't. I would argue that there is absolutely a level of conscious. You're not unconscious when you're sleeping. Just you're like, because your subconscious, they don't use subconscious anymore, but your subconscious is still aware, and like especially if you can remember your dream, which not only we not always can, but it's not something that is you're not able to do. That is still the same stream. I would argue. I mean, definitely being asleep and being awake are two different forms of being conscious. But I wouldn't say that someone who is asleep is not conscious, at least in this context. I don't know. What do you guys think? You agree with that? Letting this identity philosophy get left straight on identity politics. What does that even mean? YouTube is the last social media I'm keeping. Other than Telegram, I'm honestly detoxing. It's been last. I hear you. I mean, it's up to you. I'm just saying that Discord is not really social media in that sense. It's not an open world. It's a closed thing. It's basically a group chat that's got other features. That's really all it is. But teach their own. You have the requirements, so up to you. Stephen Goldberg Cheese said sleep is subconscious, but not as mentally dead compared to being anesthetized. Yeah. So I mean, even being anesthetized, I wouldn't say necessarily that you've lost your. Because even if you pass out. Maybe I need a better word for it, but that stream of consciousness, I don't think even if you're passed out and you are unconscious, that experience of being you is still a unique thing that only you can experience. So maybe conscious is not the right word, but that experience of being oneself, that is consistent throughout from birth to death.
Sort of default position that most people have, and the assumption that Doctor Who messes with so badly. It says that personal identity persists over time because you remain in the same body from birth to death. And now, in a sense, that's true. I don't know anybody outside of like Freaky Friday that's had a body transplant, but it's not like you consist of all of the same identical stuff that you had when you were born.
Oh my God, this is falling right into the trans argument so much. It's so funny.
True. I don't know anybody outside of like Freaky Friday that's had a body transplant, but it's not like you consist of all of the same identical stuff that you had when you were born.
Especially if you chopped it off. I couldn't help myself. I'm sorry.
You've sloughed off and replaced your outer layer of skin, for example,
or your penis
hundreds of times so far. Your red blood cells only live for about 4 months before they're cycled out. Even your skeleton is constantly being remodeled. So kind of like
yeah, they say every 7 years, every cell in your body is different than like for the 7 years ago. All the cells that are currently in your body weren't there, and all the cells that were in your body 7 years ago are not in your body now. I don't know how that's a very bro sciencey thing, but I mean, it happens on some level.
4 months before they're cycled out. Even your skeleton is constantly being remodeled. So kind of like the Doctor or the ship of Theseus, you're constantly being replaced by new physical versions of yourself. And if you are your body, then how much of you can change until you become a new you?
Which is why I don't believe that we are merely our bodies.
Can you get a haircut? What if you lose or gain a lot of weight, or grow a beard, or put John Travolta's face on your face? Let's go over to the thought bubble and explore the ideas of our bodies and ourselves ourselves with some flash philosophy. 20th century English moral philosopher Bernard Williams proposed a thought experiment to make us consider where we think our personal identity resides.
Okay, where does your personal identity reside? If you think the answer is in your genitalia, then you are a brainwashed lefty.
It goes something like this. You and I have been kidnapped.
Mostly? I'd say entirely.
Our personal identity resides. It goes something like this. You and I have been kidnapped by a mad scientist. He tells us that tomorrow morning he's going to transfer all of your mental content, all of your beliefs, memories, personality, everything into my brain. And then he's going to move all of my mental content into your brain.
All right, so we switching brains and everything is going with your brain.
Presumably, this is how he earned the title of mad scientist. But he also tells us that after the procedure is complete and your mental content is in this body and my mental content is in yours, he'll give one of the bodies $1 million and the other body will be tortured. And
Whoa. Okay. So your brain is in my body and my brain is in your body. One of us is going to get tortured and one of us is going to get $1 million. All right, let's see where it goes.
he's decided to let you pick which body gets the torture and which one gets the cash.
All right, we got a new poll. So we're going to go by the body. Which body gets the money? So my body, not your brain, or your body, which would be my brain. Which body? You get to pick. You get to pick. My brain is in your body, and your brain is in my body. One of us is getting, one body is getting $1 million, and one body is getting tortured. Sarah Marie said, may I suggest reading the book, The Afterlife of Billy Bragg? If I remember the title correctly, other than that, questioning being something else as we're born. Questioning being something else as we're born as is an ideology. I do not understand what that sentence means. Other than that, okay, so okay, in this book, questioning being, I don't know what this says. Nick said, even people who have, quote, died but saved with a defibrillator or CPR can still have the same consciousness. The experience may or may not change them, but it's still the same person. Well, I mean, just on the point of what I was saying about stream of consciousness, there absolutely is the, times in your life where you are not going to be conscious. So I think that stream of consciousness is just the wrong phrase that I'm looking for, but what you're talking about, yeah, we're saying the same thing. And so even if you're asleep, if you're in a coma, if you're anesthetized, you come out with the same essence. I don't know. It's tough. It's tough to articulate, right? Steven said, your brain includes your entire nervous system, though. Yep. So everything's there. Everything's going with it. No need to apologize. I mean, you could try it again, or maybe I'm just too stupid. I don't know. Funkmaster said, a wise man once said, mo money, mo problems. Maybe both are a form of torture. Maybe so, but you still gotta pick. So we go to our poll. Which body gets the money? So 25% of you said my body, which would be essentially me. And then 75% of you said your body, which would, 25% of you said my body. You know what I mean. It's 25% my body, 75% your body. Let's see where this goes.
Decided to let you pick which body gets the torture and which one gets the cash. What do you decide? Your answer should give you a clue about where you think your identity lies. Thanks, Thought Bubble. Now, our friend John Locke didn't cotton to the idea that the most essential aspect of a person is her body.
So before we move on, let's, does anybody want to, okay, we'll move on a little bit. I'll give you some time to hit that poll. Think about it. Hit it, because we're going to talk about it. which body gets the money.
Locke didn't cotton to the idea that the most essential aspect of a
That's why it's a thought experiment.
person is her body. For Locke, the thing that makes you you is the non-physical stuff, your consciousness. But Locke recognized that we don't maintain a single consciousness over the course of our entire lives. We go to sleep every day, but when we wake up, our conscious selves remember who we were the day before.
So this is directly what I was saying, and then Guamtech correctly said that you do go to sleep every night. So how do we square that circle?
So Locke posited a memory theory of personal identity. He believed that your identity persists over time because you retain memories of yourself at different points. And
wait, personal identity persists over time because you retain memories of yourself at different points. And each of those memories is connected to one before it. So because I remember reading the last chat, and that was preceded by me starting the stream, and that was me preceded by making the thumbnail. And if I remember all of those things, then I'm me. If you're the one who did it, then that would be you. So let's try this one again. Samarie says, trying to say that questioning if one is not what one is born as, meaning one is believing of some kind of ideology. So you could be questioning if one is not what they were born as. Means one is believing some ideology. That's one to think on. I definitely don't have a direct response to that, but it's a thinker. My goodness, you guys! Shout out to my boy Zippy DSM with another Rumble Rant. Actually, I'm gonna pull it down so we can see our boy. So I want a new faucet for streaming consciousness. Wouldn't that be nice? Don't have to actually do anything to do all the thinking. The thinking's done for you. The thinking is done for you. Awesome. Thank you, sir. Very, very, very much appreciated.
And each of those memories is connected to one before it. Now, we don't remember every single moment. I mean, do you remember what you ate for lunch last Tuesday? But you can probably...
Last Tuesday, I had a protein shake. That's what I usually have. Point taken, though.
Remember every single moment. I mean, do you remember what you ate for lunch last Tuesday? But you can probably remember a time when you did remember that, like, say, last Tuesday afternoon. And if you can remember that version of yourself, then you're still connected to the Tuesday at lunch person through a chain of memory. And this process can take us a lot farther back than last Tuesday.
Shout out to Nick Argent over on Instagram. Welcome to the party.
That if you can remember back to your first day of kindergarten, you maintain a memory link to that person. Sure, your mom...
I remember my first day of kindergarten because that was the first time I fell in love. Day one. I seen girls and I was like, oh, I like that. Not like I'd never seen girls before, but I mean like girls that you're like in close proximity with. Other than that, you know, I mean, my sister was around, but like, you go to school and there's girls everywhere. I remember that like it was yesterday. Samarie said it took some time to realize that some comments are brought from Rumble. Yeah, we got YouTube, Twitch, X, Instagram, Rumble, and a Kick. So if you are any of those platforms, only the YouTube, Twitch, and X chats will be able to be pulled up. But that doesn't mean you can't say hello. All right, I'm back in here.
First day of kindergarten, you maintain a memory link to that person. Sure, your mom also remembers that day, but no one remembers it from the inside. The butterflies in your stomach, the way your new shoes felt stiff after a summer of running barefoot. That's your memory, and since it's yours, you must be the same person who experienced that memory. The memory theory actually makes a lot of sense, but it's got some problems of its own. First off...
Okay, so the problems we could probably come up with is that our memory is not perfect. So if the validity or authenticity or accuracy rather of the memory matters, then that might come into play. Let's see. Yeah, good one. No one remembers being born.
No one remembers being born. That's not a bad...
Except there's one person who we would all find funny as an answer to this question. If you can tell me who that person who remembers being born is, I'll give you a high five. You know it. And you're going to be mad when you don't remember that you know it.
Lot of sense, but it's got some problems of its own. First off, no one remembers being born. And that's not a bad thing, really. I mean, I imagine none of us would really want to recall that particular experience or the couple of years that we spent after that pooping in our pants. But
shout out to Sandor Clegane. Welcome to the party. So this theory works if you apply it to trauma. Which theory? What are we talking about? Not really sure which theory, but let me know. And welcome. Good to see you, sir.
If personal identity requires a memory, then none of us became who we are until our first memory, which means we all lost at least a couple of years at the beginning.
So that's a big problem. That just because, like, that still was you that was born, even though you don't remember it. Let's say you go drinking, you're blacking out, and you did something good, bad, or otherwise. That doesn't mean it's not you because you don't remember it.
What's more, if you're committed to this view, you have to accept that people stop being the same person if they lose their memories. So, say a person begins to suffer from dementia. Once he's lost the ability to remember his past, does he stop being that person? So the memory theory presents problems for both the beginnings and ends of life, but there's also the issue of false...
Got him! The only man to remember. I was being my hand out. What a loser. 1 times 1 can't equal 1. 1 times 1 equals 2. Stupid. Well done, sir.
Presents problems for both the beginnings and ends of life, but there's also the issue of false memories. Memory, after all, is notoriously tricky. We know that a group of eyewitnesses are likely to recount the same event very differently, so how do we know that the memories we have are accurate? And
that's exactly where I was going, that if the memory is the core, then does an inaccurate memory make you not a person or not that person? We'll finish this and then we'll go back to the poll.
They're not. If things didn't actually happen the way you remember, then how do those faulty memories influence your identity? Do they make you a partially fictional person? So at first, Locke's theory seems to have some advantages over the body theory because consciousness and memory persist through your body's physical changes. But after a little interrogation, you find that memory is pretty tenuous too. Now here's the $64,000 Altarian question. Does any of this really matter? Like, who cares if there's a you that persists from your birth to your death?
I do. Does this stuff matter in terms of, are you going to lose your job if you don't know this? No. Does it mean you're not going to be able to have a family and a fulfilled life if you don't know this? Of course not. But will it create the avenues for us to be able to have the conversations that will lead to the future of our civilization? Yeah. Definitely will. Terrence Howard knows all things. I hope that's not true. Stephen Colbert G said hormones affect how we think so much, but they're usually produced outside of the brain itself. So thought experiments separating the two are too simplistic. That's not what they're doing. The point is, if you could move all of that stuff, what would you do? That is precisely the point, and it does it perfectly. Sarah said, not the correct answer, but my son, to this day, being almost 8 years old, still claims to remember. And he was brought out by an emergency C-section. His details are creepy, to say the least. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if there was some mechanism by which, like, obviously, I don't think this is real, but the notion that exists in the Baby Geniuses franchise, where there is some level of awareness and consciousness and experience that then is lost, I think is probably real. And then there, if your brain works a little bit differently, maybe you're able to tap into memories that with the average brain that just don't encode. Possible. It's possible. So he said, shrooms, man. Never let the shrooms speak for you. Use the shrooms to understanding what's inside. I like it. I like it. And Stephen gives us the isn't the unexamined life worth living at all? Probably not. Probably not.
This really matter? Like, who cares if there's a you that persists from your birth to your death? Maybe all you feel like you need to know is that you have a self that has to go to work and pay bills, and that's plenty. But the matter of personal identity isn't just a conceptual puzzle. It's also deeply important when you're thinking about how you should live your life. For example,
guys, really quick, we got 11 people in here and only 9 likes. If the 2 of you could hit that like button, I would be so very appreciative. Thank you.
example, do you believe that you have obligations to particular people in your life? Well, if those people don't persist as distinct identities, then your obligations might not either. And the same goes for how people think about you. Your boss only has to give you the raise she promised you if each of you remains the same person you were when she made the promise. In fact, if next Friday you're not the same person anymore, she doesn't even have to pay you. The fact is, we've all built our lives and our society on the expectations that individuals will continue to be who they are unchanged.
Imagine if you had to prove that not only were you in your body, but that you had the same memories that you had yesterday. Every time you go into work, they're like, are you sure it's your body and your mind? That'd be weird.
Society on the expectations that individuals will continue to be who they are unchanged, and those people expect the same thing out of you. So now you can see this really is your problem. You expect a paycheck, you expect people to keep their promises. But as we learned back with Clifford and James and epistemic responsibility, you don't just get to believe things without reason. So if you think you deserve that paycheck, you need to figure out why. Today
Many times, just
we talked about personal
can't
identity.
all be winners.
We
Can't all
considered
be
the
winners.
2 main answers people give to the question of where your identity lies, in your body or in the connected memories of your consciousness. We found some pretty significant problems with each of them, and then we talked about why the persistence of identity is actually something you should care about. Next time,
yes. So let's go back to our poll here. Hitting the end in when I finish talking about it, and then start counting down from 5 to 0. And then we will talk about it. So the poll is ending in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Boom. So this is interesting. So which body gets the money? So remember, my brain and my experience, everything that is my experience is in your body and vice versa. One of us is getting tortured and one of us is getting the money. So most of you said you would want my body to get tortured, which means you would experience the torture. And then your body gets the money, but it's my brain in there. So I'm going to spend it on whatever the fuck I want. So that seems very stupid. If anybody wants to explain why they would choose your body to get the... Oh, did I mix that up? Okay, I did mix that up. So your body gets the money, my body gets the torture. Okay, yeah, so I mixed that up. So the 25% of you, that makes me feel a lot better. So 25% of you who are saying that you want my body to get the money that has your brain in it. That means then the body with your experience has the torture. Why would you want that? Steven said, can AI be conscious without a body? That's the $1 million question, right? I mean, let's make that a poll. Can AI ever be conscious? I think I spelled that wrong, but I don't care. Yeah, good question. Good question. We're willing to be tortured before you much. Oh wow. You ain't wrong. Moving on. Right. So now, moving into arguments against personal identity.
In your day-to-day life, you probably assume a whole bunch of different identities. You might be a sister to your brother, a daughter to your parents, a colleague to your coworker, a mentor to the kids you teach. Or you
and a husband to your sister if you're in this show.
You might think of your identity as being based on your interests, your skills, or things like your gender or ethnicity. Whatever they are, I bet you think of your identities as being pretty fixed, stable, and you like them that way. And if that's the...
I mean... Stable, yes, okay, I'd say stable in the sense that I'm not going from me to Lutch to the Indian Jesus to the, I think it's pretty I mean, not that the Indian Jesus is so much of a character far away from who I am. Obviously, like, you'd be stupid to think that there's no difference between who I am on camera and off camera. But even those of you who are in the Discord, you could tell that there's a slight difference in the way that I run a show versus the way that, we're just hanging out, having a conversation. But even still, I'm still the Indian Jesus in the Discord. And there is a very, very significant part of Lutch that you guys will never, ever, 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 ever know. Interesting. Where are we here? Before Steven was being a dick. If I need it so bad, give me some goddamn super chats. Where we at? Zibi said, "What is a man but a miserable pile of compiling errors?" Oof. Hard to argue. Cody Brooks said, "Basing identity on prefixed identity is as retarded as believing manifest destiny." I'm not sure how those are connected, but fair enough. I don't talk like a radio. Do I talk like a radio DJ on here? I don't think so. Only when I'm reading stuff. Like, if I'm trying to read, like when I read your comments or I'm reading something, when I don't talk like a radio DJ, do I? I mean, I guess I just talk like a radio DJ in real life then. I don't know what you're talking about. Project said, "I'd say I would need to be a body before consciousness." All right, I'm done with that. Sorry. I would need a body before consciousness. Insanity would have to ensue if you were the equivalent to a super brain stick in a jar. Is that the only reason? Because it would be insane. Insane things happen. I don't know. That is not a. I don't think that's a very strong argument.
Think of your identities as being pretty fixed, stable, and you like them that way. And if that's the case, I'd like you to meet this guy, 18th century Scottish philosopher David Hume, because he says you're wrong. Hume argued that the idea of the self doesn't persist over time. He said there is no you that is the same person from birth to death.
The self is an illusion. The self is an illusion. Oh my goodness. We got a new sponsor of the stream. Shout out to Cody Brooks for the $20. Said, "I'm super now." Identity politics sets your standards before you can become an identity. They tell you who to be. You don't get to decide for yourself. I grew up in "don't label me" generation. Much better. Great. Great. Let's get this out of the way to give our boy his treat. Thank you. Here you go, Mort. Yeah, eat it up. This is from the God Daddy himself. The God Daddy himself. And the new sponsor of the stream. Thank you. So very, very much, God Daddy. Thank you so much.
Because he says you're wrong. Hume argued that the idea of the self doesn't persist over time. He said there is no you that is the same person from birth to death. He said the concept of the self is just an illusion. This could be either liberating or terrifying.
Thank you again, sir. Very, very, very much appreciated.
The self is just an illusion. This could be either liberating or terrifying, depending on how you look at it.
I see it as very liberating.
I mean, if you don't have an identity, you don't have to worry about identity theft. But what does it mean for my understanding of myself and for the people I love if there is no single constant me?
What does it mean?
If that's the case, then the person I'm married to is literally not the person I fell in love with or made those vows to, which would suggest that I don't need to keep those vows, and neither does she. And what about personal responsibility? How can you hold someone accountable for their actions if they're not the same person now that they were before? And how can you be responsible for something that you did if you're always changing?
Ooh, these are a lot of good questions out of like, hey, it wasn't me. It wasn't me.
This is gonna get dicey. All right, before we dive in, let's go. Oh, wait, I want a nice freeze frame. Fuckmaster General said, "You will never know the Lutch that dresses up like Shirley Temple. Never. Now, I mean, you know, you could, maybe, you could pay enough, but
we'll see. It's not on the table right now, but point taken. And shout out again to the God Daddy. Cody said, I grew up cut off from the world. Trust me when I tell you, I can see the TV, internet, algorithm, etc. brainwashing. It's incredible. I didn't see 9/11 until 2004 because I had no TV. That's insane. What? Whoa. What did you do when you first found out? I have to know. Yeah, because I had no TV. Everything they do now, and they buy internet influencers too. Yeah, obviously. But whew, what was that like? 3 years later to be like, wait, what happened? I have to know. I have to know what that's like. Personal identity.
If you joined me last time when we talked about personal identity, you'll remember that we considered two main possibilities for what might preserve you as the same person over time. One approach was the body theory, the sort of go-to view of things, which holds that you remain you over time because you just occupy the same body from birth to death. And the other was John Locke's memory theory, the view that your memories are what makes you the same person over time. I'm me because I remember being me in the past. But both of these models have some problems. No matter how much we want the idea of permanent, persistent selves to be a thing, David Hume said they just aren't. For him, it was really a no-brainer. If having a certain identity means possessing the same set of properties, he said, then how could anyone really maintain the same identity from one moment to the next?
Just I mean, this Cody's a perfect example. How could I possibly be identical to the person who didn't get a $20 super chat? I don't get those very often. So I can't be identical. Am I a completely different person? Of course not. But am I identical to who I was 4 minutes ago? Can't be. Can't be.
I clearly don't share all of the same properties of my childhood self or even of myself before I shaved today, so Hume would say that it's silly to pretend that I'm still me. But I feel like me, so what did Hume think was going on? Hume said the so-called self is just a bundle of impressions consisting of a zillion different things. My body, my mind, and my emotions, preferences, memories, even labels that are imposed on me by others. Think of a box and say it's marked Hank, and then put in that box everything that makes me who I am. My DNA, mannerisms, political leanings, my glasses, the relationships I have with others, the various roles I hold. Then
Morty would definitely be in the lunchbox.
Then you take away the box. Hume's point is, the self is just shorthand for all the junk in the box. And the fact that there is no box points out that there's no single underlying thing that holds it all together.
Oof. The self is just shorthand for all the junk in the box. The self is just the collection of stuff that you help identify yourself as you. Bro, this is another one? Holy moly. Holy moly. Oh my goodness. Let's get more to this trade. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. Cody, you are making my dog fat, and I'm not complaining. Thank you so very, very much. So I guess according to our new rules, we got to get Morty some peanut butter. So I'm not going to give him a whole new thing. He only got the other one yesterday, but I'll give him a scoop. First, let's get this super chat. Cody said, I was emotionless at the time. I didn't even know what the World Trade Center was. I heard an airplane crashed into a building. I had no stake in the idea. Didn't know the NYC skyline was iconic to us. Interesting. Wow. I mean, who like how did you like? Did somebody tell you, or you saw it on like a online, or I mean, I'm just so curious. I'm so curious. Hold on. Let me get some peanut butter for Morty. Thank you again. So here's what are we gonna do? I got the new one, the full one. Obviously, I'm not getting him that. He's gonna die. I'm gonna take a scoop, and I'm just gonna leave it on Here, move your body. I'm gonna leave it on. Can you see that? Yeah, you can see it. You can see it. And he's gonna have a good time with that. I'm gonna leave the spoon up there too. Thank you. Thank you. Cody, you are the god daddy for a reason, sir. You are the god daddy for a fucking reason. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I guess I don't need to say we need to keep the party raging because the party is raging. Let's grab a couple of these before we dive back in. Steven said, let's become a lady if we gave him the rest of $1 million. Nah, it'd be a little more than that, but there is everybody's got a price. Everybody's got a price. Zippy, I have a real revolution up my sleeve. Oh, baby, I am looking forward to that. Sarah Marie said, I even foresaw 9/11. To think someone went years without knowing, I would actually want to swap. Having the vision appear on screen, well, being 16, I knew people were worse off. Yeah, I was about 14 at the time, and I had just learned about the notion of a death wish. And so I'm like, oh, I guess a pilot had a death wish or something. Like, I just had no clue what that. Are you kidding me? You have all that stuff there. And he's only like, well, where are you putting that? If we gave Morty an entire case of peanut butter, would he become a cat? Unless you're defining cat as dead dog, then no, I don't think so. Cody said, my point being, I was cut off from the system that controls everyone now. I'm controlled by them, but I know it. Yeah, unfortunately, we gotta just accept that there's a certain level of control that they have that we are never getting back. Never, never, never. Me, I'm 89. I'm 89, so I'm 34. I was in 6th grade in Miss Schmidt's social studies class on 9/11, and yeah. Cody said, I worked at a Subway. That was my first job. I worked at a Subway restaurant. I heard about it on the radio. We didn't have electronics in my house. Wow. That is crazy. That's such a unique experience. I wonder how many, like, it's reasonable to assume. No, they downplayed the whole thing. So social studies was later in the day. All day, people have been getting called out of school and everything, but they didn't say anything. I know other schools where they watched it like that, but no, they didn't tell us anything. Hey, look what we got right in action. Welcome to the party. Good to see you, buddy. No, Morty, you're not getting. He's over here trying to get more of this. All right, you get one more little scoop because I'm a softie. So you get one more little scoop, and that's it. Because Cody is so awesome, and all of you guys have been so blessing. I'll put it a little bit higher so everybody can see. Spread it out so it takes you some time. There you go. And the spoon. So leave me the fuck alone. All right. Nick says, you are awesome, buddy. Indeed, you are. Thank you so much, man. I mean, this is just next level. Thank you so very much. All right, let's dive back and talking about the self. Really quick. Cody said, it'll sound retarded, but I was wearing a purple shirt, black slacks, and orange underwear the day I heard about 9/11. I woke up at 6:12 a.m. I was at work 7 minutes early. My brain is retarded on 9/11. And maybe you just remember. I don't know. It's that's wild. That is wild. But yeah, I wish they had taught us about, hey, something's happening. This is part of history. It was in social studies class, and they didn't even pull it up. Crazy. All right, diving back in. The self is just that box.
That there is no box points out that there's no single underlying thing that holds it all together. And meanwhile, some of the stuff in the bundle goes away and new stuff shows up. So if you look at the bundle that is me now and compare it with the bundle that my mom and dad brought home from the hospital, they would be almost completely different. So Hume said we're all just ever-changing bundles of impressions that our minds are fooled into thinking of as constant because they're packaged in these fleshy receptacles that basically look the same from one day to the next. To explore this some more, let's bounce over to the thought bubble for some flash philosophy. Contemporary British philosopher Derek Parfit, probably after watching a Star Trek marathon, posed this thought experiment. Imagine a machine that breaks you down atom by atom, copies all of that information, and transmits it to Mars at the speed of light. Once that
Okay, so every atom in your body is transported to Mars.
information gets to Mars, another machine uses it to recreate you atom by atom.
Is this going to be a Ship of Theseus type of thing?
Using copies of the same organic stuff that you were composed of here on Earth.
So it's different material. It's different material, but the stuff that you're made of is the same, but it's not even the same atoms. So originally I thought the atoms themselves are being transported. These are copies. So this is a clone.
By atom, using copies of the same organic stuff that you were composed of here on Earth. The person who wakes up on Mars has all of the same memories and personality as you did, and that person thinks it's you. So here's the question. Is this space travel? Did you travel to Mars? Is the transported person really you? Or was a new being created that happened to correspond to you atom by atom, thought by thought?
All right. So again, Cody, I cannot tell you how much I love the support. It really, really, really means the world. And it's not about the dollar amount. It's not about the dollar amount, and especially what you've expressed to me privately. It means the world, man. It means the world. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So let's go. Let's make which question should we make our poll?
That person thinks it's you. So here's the question. Is this space travel? Did you travel to Mars? Is the transported person really you? Or was a new being created that happened to correspond to you atom by atom, thought by thought?
So I forgot about the other poll. It seems we all agree that, except for one person, that AI could become conscious. Where are we? Where are we? Cody said, I live in a shed for $600 a month. I have zero debt and I make decent money to share. The only thing I cherish are words. I mean, there's not a lot of people like you out there, man. There's not a lot of people like you out there. Everybody put God Daddy in the chat. God Daddy. Cody is our God Daddy. Man, can't thank you enough. Quantex said, this is the scariest part about transportation technology. Do you die every time you're transported? Good question. Hugh said, maybe the idea of a self is flawed to begin with. Agreed. Come here. Here, I have this. Come here. Come here. You forgot about this. Yeah. You lay down. You can get that. Yeah, I completely agree. I don't think that this notion of I am a self. I don't think that is a real thing. And everything that we've talked about, everything that we've talked about in terms of identity is utilitarian in the sense that it helps us understand the physical world that we all inhabit. But when you really sit down and think about that, does it really make sense that a self could be? Zibby says in Star Trek, you do die every time. Damn. So yeah, which question?
Being created. Travel to Mars is the transported person.
Let's go with that one. Is the transported person really you? Is the transported person really you? Cody said, I am. I should be using a fake name. You'll see it when I tell you the story on Discord. So guys, if you are a member and you are not in the Discord, what are you doing? We got some tea to spill tonight from the God Daddy. Cody said, instinct is the only politics yourself should listen to. That old gut feeling. I agree. I mean, you definitely should be informed. You shouldn't just go sheerly on your gut. But be informed, and then that old gut feeling. So the poll is up. Is the transported person really you? We got 4 votes, 50-50.
Here's the question. Is this space travel? Did you travel to Mars? Is the transported person really you? Or was a new being created that happened to correspond to you atom by atom, thought by thought? Now, consider this. What if a new version of the machine is created so that now, instead of destroying your body, it can simply be scanned and all of the information can be recreated on Mars, but the you here on Earth still exists? Now, did you travel or were you just replicated?
So it seems like most of you are saying we're bouncing back and forth. All right, so let's finish this one and hear this one more time.
To correspond to here's the question. Is this space travel? Did you travel to Mars?
So this is the poll that we have
the
up now.
transported person really you? Or was a new being created that happened to correspond to you atom by atom, thought by thought? Now, consider this. What if a new
Okay, so this is the new version
of the machine is created so that now, instead of destroying your body, it can simply be scanned and all of the information can be recreated on Mars, but the you here on Earth still exists?
So that's just straight up cloning.
Now, did you travel or were you just replicated?
I'd definitely say
If you're here on Earth, are you also on Mars?
I would say no, the clone is on Mars.
Wow. Yeah. Thanks, Thought Bubble, I think. Parfit agrees with Hume that there isn't such a thing as personal identity over time.
So he's loving it. He's loving it, guys. Thank you so much. Time is a flat circle. Yep. Shout out to Loki. God of stories. Guamtech said the only real transportation that wouldn't kill you would probably be folding spacetime tech. Why be broken down and transported when you can bring any time and place to you? There you go. There you go.
In either case, you didn't travel through space. That's just a new you that shows up on Mars, whether the old you was destroyed or still exists. And you know what? Even if you hopped on a spaceship and flew to Mars the old-fashioned way, it'd still be a new you that arrives because you would have experienced all sorts of changes during the trip. But
fair. However, there's definitely something to be said about the degree of difference. The degree of difference that I am before Cody's dropping fucking bills on bills on bills on bills. The person that I am before that is different in the sense that it's not identical, but it's not a different person. I'm not sure the word that I want to use there, but that is the case. You're not identical, but you're not a different person. You're an upgraded version.
the thing is, Parfit thought Hume missed a really important point. Even though there isn't a singular you from birth to death, Parfit says that each of us has a psychological connectedness with ourselves over time. Think about your life as being like a piece of chainmail. The mesh that is your personal identity is made up of lots of separate chains, and those chains intersect at certain points to make up the chainmail. As you follow the timeline of one particular set of links, new links are being created that add to the chain. And as time passes, the links that are farther back in your past slowly start to drop off as they lose their psychological connection to you.
So essentially, if we were just to do this with two, we have, we have this, it would be a one and a half circle thing. So you have this, and as this comes in, this replaces it, and so on and so forth. And this is just with a lot more. So let's see what the question
that are farther back in your past.
Hey, shout out to Ruthless Admin. Welcome to the party. So my false dichotomy senses are tingling. And also, define you or me, and really, loads of words and concepts to dissect. I vote no based on my own definition. So I agree with you on the no. Seems like a lot of other people do as well. But I think the getting that far down into defining you or me, and really, that is a little bit further ahead than what we're trying to accomplish here. I definitely respect it, but we're not there yet.
Created that add to the chain. And as time passes, the links that are farther back in your past slowly start to drop off as they lose their psychological connection to you. So when you stopped loving Dora the Explorer, that link dropped away. And when you discovered that you totally love philosophy, a new link was created. But some chains intersect with that other chain, and they have links that persist for a long time, like the love you have for your parents. So Parfit says that, sure, I'm not the same person I was when I was in elementary school, and I won't be the same person when I die.
True.
I'm not even even really the same person I was when I started this sentence because every experience changes us at least a little. But parts of me survive the passage of time because they're psychologically connected to my previous selves. And survival is what's important for Parfit. As long as enough of the elements of you persist, you see yourself as relevantly the same, but not for a whole lifetime. Parfit would say that none of the you that existed at birth is still around. Your physical matter is almost all different, and you have no memory of that time, and your preferences have completely changed.
And it's hard to argue with that, even though we're talking about this not so stream of consciousness. This is a stream of consciousness that can be broken, but whatever it is that is the proper terminology for that, even though that existed and continues to exist, none of you that existed at birth is still around. Especially because that's before you even have the memory. So your body is completely different and your memories are completely different. Context that I love when sci-fi blends with philosophy. It reminds me I need to watch Star Trek. Yeah, I downloaded, legally procured. What are you doing? Come on. No, you just want more food? Well, you have to come up here first. You have to look cute and get them to want to pay so that you can. That's how it works, man. He's not playing along. Yeah, I did download, procure one version of the Star Trek show. I think it was Generation whatever. And someone said, or no, Deep Space Nine or something. And someone was like, no, you want to start with the Next Generation or something. But that's one I definitely want to get into. Cody says, my favorite part of recognizing things, everyone seems to be in the right place at the right time, whether fixed or not. It is the ultimate connector feeling. Yeah, I mean, a big part of understanding the universe and destiny and those types of things. Once I lost my faith, was very much in line with a belief that the universe is ordered towards balance. That's just the natural state of being. And that doesn't just go for physical things, that if, something's heavy over here, that the universe is going to make it, but conceptually, I again do believe that it is very possible for there to be a consciousness bigger than bigger than us and the universe itself. I don't claim to know the details, but all makes sense to me.
It's all different, and you have no memory of that time, and your preferences have completely changed. Baby you has not survived, but some of last year you probably has. And Parfit seems to have hit on an important insight here. Think about what you do when you catch up with an old friend. The first thing you do is ask what's happened since the last time you spoke. What you're doing, without really thinking about it, is recognizing that both of you have changed. If the changes are big enough, then your friend could seem like a stranger at first. So when it's someone you care about, you take the time to reacquaint yourself with this new person, because you recognize the need to always know the most updated version of that person. But the opposite can also happen. Think about that aunt you only see at Christmas who still pinches your cheek and gives you a new American Girl doll every year. She probably knew what you loved when you were 10, but she doesn't know the current you. The version of you she's shopping for at Christmas doesn't exist anymore. But since you rarely see each other and you haven't made the effort to know the new yous, you're both looking past each other in that painfully awkward way that makes holidays with relatives so special. So now let's think back to the question we discussed earlier. If I'm not the same me over time, how do I make sense of promises, obligations, and responsibility?
If I'm not the same me over time, how do I make sense of promises, obligations, and responsibilities? I would base that in the perception of so even if I'm not the same person that made a promise, the person I am now has a respect for what the previous me had said. And given that was me at the time, it wasn't like somebody else said it, then even though I'm a different person, I, of course, in having a society and, oh, man's only got his word, that kind of stuff comes with the respect of the previous you. I think that makes sense, right?
The same me over time. How do I make sense of promises, obligations, and responsibilities? Parfit's theory gives us an answer. Your degree of responsibility and obligation corresponds to your degree of connection to the person who made the promise or incurred the responsibility.
That's interesting. So if I made a promise when I was 5 years old that, oh, when I'm 34, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. My responsibility to keep that obligation is not really the same as me saying, guys, I promise I'm going to do a show tomorrow. And then tomorrow being like, oh, well, I don't have to follow that. I like that a lot. And that also comes into, my theory on our allyship with Israel. Seems like the degree of responsibility or the degree of connection to the people who made promises to ally with them kind of far back there. And conditions may or may not have led us to a place where it is reasonable to rethink our allyship. Just saying. Again, make sure you're not on top chat. So there's top chat. We'll just give you most of the chats, and live chat will give you all of them.
Your degree of connection to the person who made the promise or incurred the responsibility. So if you were a kindergarten bully who grew up to be a totally sweet guy who would never bully anyone, you don't need to feel any guilt. You're not that person anymore. You don't bear responsibility for that person's actions. Likewise, if you and your childhood bestie Pinky swore to be each other's maids of honor when you grew up, but now the two of you have nothing in common, you're off the hook for that promise. Now, about those marriage vows, well, a promise that lasts a lifetime doesn't really make sense in Parfit's view, and there are actually people using this line of reasoning who argue that marriage contracts should be temporary with the option of renewal.
This is I actually saw this on TikTok of all places. I saw this idea that it was this guy and a girl in a relationship, and what they were saying is that instead of just being together, they do their relationship in like chunks. And so this is similar to the fuck, I forget what the theory calls, but in How I Met Your Mother, Barney says that relationships have off ramps. And so like your first one is immediately you see the person, you can get out of there. Then it's, the third date, you get out of there, so on and so forth, all the way through your life. And these people were doing like 6 months or a year at a time. And they say, okay, we're going to be together under these conditions for the next 6 months. If in 6 months, we want to continue doing this, then we'll just sign another 6-month agreement. I don't know if they actually sign anything, but we'll agree to be together for another 6 months, and then we'll come back and see where we're at. I think it's a good idea. I got a lot of hate on the video that I saw, but it makes sense, especially in this landscape.
Who argue that marriage contracts should be temporary with the option of renewal, like a cell phone plan. But others have said that vows like this can actually stay relevant even after a lifetime of changes. Over the years, you and your spouse change and become different people, but these thinkers point out you may be constantly reaffirming the promises you made on your wedding day. So a wedding vow isn't a promise you made years ago when you were a completely different person. It's a promise you made this
over
morning
and over and over and over
again. The hairball the cat left on the rug. Why is it always on the rug? So clearly, we're not talking about Batman or science fiction or hypothetical trips to Mars anymore.
No matter how long we took a detour.
We're talking about how philosophy can teach you about yourself and the people you care about, and how you can continue to know them and be close to them over time. Today, we continued our exploration of personal identity, learning about Hume's bundle theory and Parfit's theory of survival through psychological connectedness. Next time, we're going to address a term that we've been taking for granted throughout this whole discussion. Person.
And so I think we'll do that one, the personhood, and see where we're at. What did I miss here? Guamtag said, I had a friend try to cop out of paying a bet to me by saying, oh, that was past me. All I had to say was, if you don't want me to treat future and current you like shit, you'll pay up. There you go. Yeah. He didn't know who he's dealing with. He didn't know who he was dealing with. Yeah, exactly. Past you, better pay up if you want to future you. My dad loves the Desiderata. He loves it. Cody said, despite its sham and drudgery, agreed, the world is still a beautiful place. Yep. Agreed. All right, so personhood. Personhood.
I bet you think you know a person when you see one. For example, I am a person, right? But
Maybe.
was I always a person? Was
Maybe.
Johann Strauss a person? Or Freddie Mercury? Are they still people? What about a 9-month-old baby? What about a fetus? Or Chewbacca? Or C-3PO? To philosophers, personhood is a technical term. Person doesn't equal human. Human is a biological term. You're human if you have human DNA.
No matter what stage you're at. So the moment that you have unique DNA, you are a human.
That's it. But person is a moral term. For a philosopher, persons are beings who are part of our moral community. They deserve moral consideration. This distinction is really useful, but it kind of complicates things because there might be non-humans that we think deserve moral consideration, and there might be some humans who don't. But the determination
Lex Luthor, no, and Superman, aka Morty, yes.
of who's a person and who's not is tricky, and the slipperiness of what constitutes a person is at the core of almost every major social debate issue you can think of.
Then you'd be one of those people, and that would be two people.
Abortion, animal rights, the death penalty, euthanasia. Whether your passion is human rights or robots, science or sociology, you have to get to the bottom of personhood.
No, I say absolutely not. I say absolutely not. And that's why I am not against the notion of euthanasia. I'm not against it at all. But the I didn't realize this was at half volume. So I'm going to turn this up. I'll give you guys a chance. Well, should I leave it or is it quiet? You guys let me know. But yes, this is why I don't. I'm not in favor of MAID or any type of government controlled euthanasia system. But I don't think that I don't think that there's any justification for a person not to have the bodily autonomy to decide that they don't want to live anymore. Just my opinion. Cody said, life living makes me think he's only free people. The only free people in history were the pirates of the 1600s. I mean, you might be onto something there. What do you define as a non-human? Anything that is not human. So a dog would be non-human. My phone would be non-human. Yeah, come on. Exactly. You guys get it. So can't wait to go to prison for free speech because I'll abuse it. That's what I'm talking about. Government does meter out. I mean, true, but that doesn't mean that I have to be in favor of them doing it more. No, thank you.
We're going to do something a little different today and head straight into the thought bubble.
Thought
because
bubble!
I think there's some flash philosophy that'll help us a lot when we start thinking about what constitutes a person. Is Superman a person? I mean, if you encountered Superman on another planet, the question wouldn't even cross your mind.
Well, let's find out. Is Superman a person? Remember, we are separating person and human. Is Superman a person?
Superman a person? I mean, if you encountered Superman on another planet, the question wouldn't even cross your mind. The way he acts and talks certainly indicates that he's a person. But Supes definitely isn't human. He's Kryptonian, he lacks human DNA, and is affected by the sun and by kryptonite in a way that humans are not. So calling him a human is incorrect, but most of us would disagree with anyone who wanted to deny him personhood. Superman's non-humanity is one of the reasons Lex Luthor hates him, and part of why we hate Lex Luthor. Just because Superman happens to be from another planet doesn't make him different in any moral way, just like skin color doesn't make a moral difference among humans.
Whoa. Imagine. You were about to be like, yo, what?
The people who know him, Lois and Jimmy and Ma and Pa Kent, there's no question that Superman is a person. In fact, if anything, Superman might be more of a person than Luthor is, because Luthor is fueled by hatred and prejudice and a lust for power.
I would disagree and just say they're both persons.
He's less deserving of moral consideration than Superman. So if Superman is more of a person than Lex, then humanity definitely isn't what makes someone a person. So yeah, is Thought Bubble a person? Bye-bye, thought bubble. Now, there are plenty of candidates for non-human persons. Aliens like Superman, as well as artificial intelligences like Wall-E or Samantha from the movie Her. Many
Always got to just outdo everybody, huh? You just got to outdo everybody. You just got to outdo everybody. I have a better idea this time. I have a better idea. Instead, where's the spoon? Oh, here. Instead, I'll put it in his old thing, so he knows where to go. Thank you so very much for the 50. Actually, that's too much. That's too much. He's gonna get sick. All right. The $50 super chat, and then what I'll do is spread it around so he's got some time with it. Oh my God, you guys are so generous. Like, you guys, I'm speechless. I am speechless. Let's put that in there. Put that in there. Go get it, boy. Go get it, boy. Yeehaw. Yeehaw. Yeah, boy. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I don't know what to do. Let's just keep moving. Thank you. You guys know I'm just weird about this stuff. So thank you. And of course, that makes you the new sponsor of the stream. Watch him enjoy that to no end. No end. Thank you so much, man. I really, guys, you guys are awesome. You guys are so awesome.
Thought bubble. Now, there are plenty of candidates for non-human persons. Aliens like Superman, as well as artificial intelligences like Wall-E or Samantha from the movie Her. Many people think some non-human animals are persons too. Great apes like Coco are a good example. But is it possible to be human, yet not a person? Some people believe that fetuses, though clearly human, are not yet persons. Others think that bodies in persistent vegetative states or that have experienced a complete and irreversible loss of brain function are no longer persons either.
Wait. Okay, I'm stupid. I need to do math.
Still others argue that a human can surrender his or her personhood through grossly inhumane actions like rape or murder. Many careful thinkers disagree about what personhood really is, where it starts and stops, which explains why we disagree about abortion and euthanasia and capital punishment, and I'm sure no one in the comments will be shouting their opinions on the matter at all. But it seems to come down to this question: what must one possess to be part of our moral community, to be deserving of our moral consideration?
What must one possess? So let's go back to our last question. Is Superman a person? 57% of you said no. I'm wondering, what is your definition? And does human have to be part of it? Hey, yo! Hey, yo! My guy with the rumble right again. Zippy, DSM Lee. You guys are amazing. Amazing. Thank you so very, very much. Yeah, a fictional person as opposed to a fictional what? So I mean, I would like, let's assume for this let's assume for the sake of argument that Superman is not fictional, that Superman is a real being, that we really have we really do have a Superman in this universe. Would that Superman be a person? Okay, all right. I have to go out and buy. I don't know even the last time I've had steak, but we will do it. We will do it. All right. We're at 50-50. Is Superman a person? Is Superman a person?
Yes, to be part of our moral community,
and maybe
to be
this will help.
Deserving of our moral consideration.
So what makes you a person? What makes you a person? So Guanteg is saying, if human is based off physical characteristics, then would Superman be eligible for the title of honorary human? I don't necessarily think we need to go there, because he would be like, he's a Superman. So I mean, I guess if you wanted to, but I think the notion that we're trying to get at is again, comparing how our perspective of this entity affects our categorization. And so I don't have any I don't have any reason to want to say Lex Luthor is not a person. Like, bad people are still persons. But again, assuming that Superman was a real being, I think it would the closest thing we would have would just be he's a person. He's not human, but he's a person with quote unquote disabilities. Because we don't have anything close. We don't have any humanoid type beings around. So this is a new category. This wouldn't be something that we already have a category for. So yeah, I don't know. Zippy said a person is a person, fictional or otherwise. Bingo. Is a drawing or fictional character a human? About as human as the moon's reflection in muddy waters is the moon. Well said. Well said. Indeed, y'all will be spared. I don't know what the rest of you, but no, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. Steven says Superman shouldn't be allowed to compete in the Olympics as a person, much less a woman. Fair enough. I definitely agree. So yeah, Ruthless Admin brought it to 50-50. We only got 8 votes. We got 12 people in here. You can't not have an opinion on Superman. Just click it. I thought his dad was Kal-El. No? I don't know. I'm not a comic guy. I don't care. Unless he was forced to be on a kryptonite diet for a couple of years first. What? I think this is not only another question, I think this is a better question. This is a better question because supposedly Jesus Christ as the Son of God existed. So I think this is actually a better question. This is a better question than his Superman in person. Yeah, I think this is, and then again, like honorary kind of makes it seem like, oh, you're good enough to be human, but I'm nitpicking there. But I think that's a better way to frame this whole thing. Jesus instead of Superman. I understand why they didn't, but I think this is a way better way to structure all of this. Superman versus the Flash. All right. Superman diet be like eating spicy rocks. I'm gonna guess that's a comic thing that I missed.
To be part of our moral community, to be deserving of our moral consideration. A contemporary American legal scholar named John Noonan gives us one option. He calls it the genetic criterion. This view says that you are a person if you have human DNA, and you are not a person if you don't. The virtue of this view is its simplicity.
Yeah, it's simplicity. So obviously, then, no, Superman is not a human, therefore he's not a person. Jesus is not a... what would you say about Jesus then? So, all right, I guess we're ending this one at 50-50. So then we'll go to Jesus. Assuming Jesus was the Son of God and was real, was he a person? Interesting question. And then the devil. Ooh, well, the devil was an angel, right? The devil wasn't human. So, oh, but you're saying person. The way that they're framing it, no, because they're framing it as, and that's exactly where I'm going. The way that they're framing, I can smell the neighbor's cigarette. The way that they're framing it is like contributing to society. So I would say by their definition, no. But if we are saying that a person is, what are we saying a person? So a person is at least so a humanoid type being that is accepted as a human. I don't know. That's a tough one. Shout out to Svoyland. Welcome to the party. Good to see ya. It said kryptonite diet for Superman would be equivalent to the anti-hormone regimen to detransition. All right, fair enough. It's that Guamtech said, "Oh yeah, because we all know the most simplistic explanation solves everything every time. Funkmaster said Muslims think that if you draw something with eyes and facial features, you will have to bring it to life on Judgment Day.
Stupid.
Yeah, that's dumb. That's dumb. To think the pressure, burden of having to save us. That's what people believe. But if you believe Jesus was a person controlled by a cosmic God type entity, then he is human. All right, we're gonna dive back in here because I gotta piss. Let's go. Right.
A contemporary American legal scholar named John Noonan gives us one option. He calls it the genetic criterion. This view says that you are a person if you have human DNA and you are not a person if you don't. The virtue of this view is its simplicity, but its implications are so problematic that most philosophers dismiss it. If all you need to be a person is human DNA, then like my mouth cells are persons.
There you go. Carl, if you want to do a shout out and give us a link or something, I'll shout it out for you.
And so are corpses. None of our favorite androids or aliens like Superman meet the genetic criterion, even though they seem more like persons than like, some of my cells. But American philosopher Mary Ann Warren offers 5 more specific criteria that she believes together constitute personhood: consciousness, reasoning, self-motivated activity, capacity to communicate, and self-awareness.
All right, so we have criteria for a personhood based on whatever the hell that lady's name was. Consciousness, reasoning, self-motivated activity, capacity to communicate, and self-awareness. All right. Do we agree with this? Do we agree that if you do meet these criteria, you are a person? If you do not, you are not? Capacity to communicate and self-awareness, consciousness, reasoning, self-motivated activity. No, because Morty can do all 5 of these things. Very simple. Not a person. As much as I love him, not a person. Guamtech said angels and humans were described to be completely different. The angels were supposedly jealous of humans because of their free will and morality. I just watched Dogma, which is streaming free on YouTube. So if you've never seen it, you should. Yeah, Jesus definitely qualified. I mean, he was a human. No, I think the. Well, I mean, you got to ask the questions. I say he came to Earth as a human. I don't think that he did anything miraculous, so I think he's just a dude. But if you believe he did miracles, yeah, I think humanoid is close, is fair enough for everybody, right? Ruthless Admin said, I mainly disagree that person means human, though that is the top accepted definition in a quick search. Person seems to more strongly imply personality. There you go. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. So this lady is defining personality as these 5 things. But because Morty has these 5 things and Morty is clearly not a person, this is incomplete. But that personality thing, because again, Morty has a personality, but how far does that really go? At the end of the day, he's a dog. He's not gonna like music more than another dog, or I mean, actually, I don't really know, but you know what I mean. Good point. Sam Marie said, fuck, where in the Quran does it say that? I've read the Norwegian translation, can't recall that. Don't know. Like I said, not only that, but biblically accurate angels were scary as shit. A lot of them weren't just people with wings. Which was more than 2% of his body weight piston. Is he still the same person? Good question. Comment of the night.
Dilly.
He wasn't self-aware. He had a God complex. Get it? Beautiful. All right, Zabi said, angels are a bundle of eyes and wings that question your humanity Bad shroom trip, man. Fair enough. All right. So, does anybody agree? Put a 1 in the chat if you agree that this is the criteria or the accurate criteria for personhood. And then, again, assuming Jesus was the Son of God and was real, was he a person? Seems like we all agree that yes, that would be a person. So by that logic, so what did the Superman one say? Because then why would that be different? So why is so those of you who said that Superman was not a person, but Jesus was a person, is it? And I did say okay, so I didn't say. Is it just the assuming it was real? Is it the fictional part? If you said no, Superman is not a person, but yes, Jesus was a person, I'd love to hear from you.
Reasoning, self-motivated activity, capacity to communicate, and self-awareness. These 5 factors are known as the cognitive criteria for personhood. Warren argues that some humans just aren't persons, either not yet or not anymore. In her view, if a being is incapable of communicating, isn't aware of itself as a self, can't think or move around on its own, or isn't conscious, then she says that's not a being that we can call a person, even if it happens to have human DNA.
Right, but again, if you go the other way, then that means that anything that doesn't have human DNA that can fit these 5 criteria is a person. My dog, as much as I love my dog, he's a dog.
Now, you might have noticed that Warren's criteria definitely rules out fetuses, but it also kind of rules out
Does it? Oh, the self-awareness, yeah.
young children. Kids don't become self-aware until at least 18 months. So Noonan's criterion seems to allow some obvious non-persons into its definition, like the cells in my spit. But Warren's criteria may kick out of the personhood club some beings that to you are clearly people. Then maybe you'd find the social criterion more palatable.
Ooh, I feel like this is gonna speak to me. I don't know. I don't remember. And I didn't even watch this one in the lead up to today, but I have a feeling this is going to be the one that I like the most.
This view says that you're a person whenever society recognizes you as a person, or whenever someone cares about you.
Nope. So if you lived like Cody between 2001 and 2004, then you're not a person?
What? Stupid.
Sorry.
This one seems pretty intuitive. It says that you matter morally when you matter to someone. It allows for society's understanding of a person to change over time, which seems good when we're thinking about something like expanding rights to protect primates, for example. However, if you think carefully about this view, it also means that if no one happens to care for a particular being, that being simply isn't a person.
And that don't make no sense.
It would mean that fully rational, healthy, functioning adult humans might not have personhood just because no one happens to care about them. And we probably want inclusion in our moral community to be something more than a popularity contest. So,
I mean, we all know somebody who, just the old guy, old lady that lives in the neighborhood and, just is doing her own thing. Just because, I think that's silly. I was way off saying, oh, I think I'm gonna like this one. I was way off, way off. Steven said Jesus didn't communicate very well either. He didn't get anyone to write down what he was saying for 50 years after he died. Would have been helpful to get some firsthand accounts, but hey. Context that I would say advanced social functions, understanding of time and understanding complex action and reaction dynamics describes personhood better on top of those criteria. On top of, meaning including or instead of? Because, again, I think Morty arguably, depending on what we're saying is advanced, Morty definitely, has social functions. Dogs can understand not time as we see it, but the passage of time based, like the reason that, especially if you work the same hours, the reason your dog is probably, and you have your dog is probably at the door, or at the window, or wherever they're waiting for you before you even pull up. The way that dogs know that you're about to come home, it's not because they hear the car. It's not because of that. I mean, it might be included, but it's because of the amount of pheromones that are in the house. And so if you work the same hours every day, then your dog gets used to, when you leave, as the pheromones fade, That's still time. That's not counting seconds and minutes, but that's time. And then again, what's complex action and reaction dynamics? I mean, he knows if I throw a ball that where it's going to go. So are you saying, when you say on top of, do you mean in addition to or instead of? It's scary because certain apes are starting to begin to function on this scale. Yep, they're saying, is it not gorillas? I forget exactly what monkey ape thing, but they're entering their own Stone Age. Better question: why is Morty not a person? Still not a human, but a person. Because I do think that like I was asking about the level of advanced and complex that Gomtech is saying here, but I would definitely say I would not say that he can do advanced social functions. I would not use that word. I was asking what Gomtech meant, but again, I would not say complex action reaction dynamics. He's just not that at that level. I mean, but then what about a child? Does a 3-year-old have better social functions, better understanding of time and complex action and reaction dynamics than Morty? I don't know. See, this is where we're going. This is where we're going with all this. That the answers aren't all there. And that's okay. It's okay that we don't know. Why is Morty not a person? Or is Morty a person? I don't know. And that's okay. It might be that. I don't remember who it is, but some monkey ape thing somewhere are getting into the Stone Age. So let's see what Peter Singer's got to say for us.
Probably want inclusion in our moral community to be something more than a popularity contest. So then there's contemporary Australian moral philosopher Peter Singer, who says that the key to personhood is sentience, the ability to feel pleasure and pain.
Well, wow. So this question being asked by Zippy is answered by Peter Singer as yes, cognitive ability equals person. But of course, this goes back to the, if you're in a coma, are you no longer a person?
That the key to personhood is sentience, the ability to feel pleasure and pain. This criterion ignores the whole idea of species altogether and instead looks at a being's capacity to suffer. This view says that it's wrong.
Fucking pardon? Please explain.
To cause unnecessary pain to anything that can feel, but if it can't feel, well, we do no harm by excluding it from the group of beings that matter. So fetuses younger than at least 23 weeks are not persons, nor are humans in persistent vegetative states, but any animal with a developed central nervous
How? I'm not even arguing. I don't know your position. What? How am I turning woke?
System is a person. Now, some people think that personhood is a right, a sort of ticket to the moral community that you forfeit when you violate the laws of society in a major way.
Do we agree with this? Some people think that personhood is a right. No, I don't know. No, you're not a person because you broke the laws. That's stupid. That's stupid. Stupid. Fuckmaster said, chimps have been attacking gorillas the past few years. That's a new behavior. Evolution at work. Ruthless Admin said, my God, the semantics and missing nuance are making me feel like I'm Ian Crossland must when he argues with Tim Pool. That's a really good analogy. That's a really, really good analogy. This is not for somebody who already knows all this stuff. This is for somebody who doesn't quite, hasn't been exposed to this stuff. Too much of this has been brought up and talked about on stream and within the issues that we talk about in politics. Fridays are slow anyway, and so this is crucial for everybody. And so, hey, if Philosophy Friday is not for you because you've already done this and this is kindergarten to you, totally fine. Totally fine. But I certainly do not feel that way. I went through this entire playlist and studied all this stuff in school, and I still need the refresher. So and then of course there's a lot of people who haven't been exposed to this stuff. So between you and Stephen Colbert, I know you guys are better, well read on this stuff than I am. So if this is too slow for you, that's totally fine. Just come back on Mondays and Wednesdays, because other people here are learning stuff, including myself. So we're like, oh, this is so stupid. How do you think that comes off? Just saying.
To the moral community that you forfeit when you violate.
Oh wait, what is it saying? Okay, bro, I'm woke as fuck then.
Personhood is a right, a sort of ticket to the moral community that you forfeit when you violate the laws of society in a major way. In this view, you can surrender your own personhood through grossly inhumane actions. This line of reasoning is one way people justify capital punishment. Yes, killing people is wrong, they might say, but if a criminal has surrendered their personhood through their actions, then they're no longer a person anymore, so we as members of the state would think ourselves justified in killing them. Now, so far we've been talking about personhood like it's a toggle switch. You have it or you don't. But a more nuanced option is the gradient theory of personhood.
Ooh, a gradient. You could be less of a person and more of a person? I don't think I'm going to agree with this. Motherfucker, it's not that hot. What are you doing? Eat your peanut butter. You all done already? Okay, well.
Which says it's not all or nothing. It's more like a dimmer switch. So personhood comes in degrees, and you can have more or less of it.
No, I don't think so.
So in this view, a fetus would grow slowly in personhood throughout pregnancy as cognition develops. So a 26-week-old fetus would have less personhood than a 34-week-old fetus, which would have less personhood than a newborn baby, who would have less personhood than a toddler. And
the only, as long, I mean, I could see if you wanted to use this in terms of explaining, you know, how a growth and development and stuff, that I could understand where you would use this. But as long as you're not saying there is no point at which a human or a being with human DNA is 0% human, like you start at least 1%, then fair enough. But I don't like that. Zibby said, states grant you personhood, slave. Be happy. Yeah. In this context, to me, will equals person? Elaborate. If you want to say woke is going too far with things, which is common since humans are rarely highly nuanced or balanced. So the left goes too far often, just like someone of any political persuasion is likely to. Okay. Okay. Shout out to Arjun. Welcome to the party. Good to see ya. We are talking about personhood and what is a person. Welcome.
Fetus, which would have the dimmer switch. So personhood comes in degrees, and you can have more or less of it. So in this view, a fetus would grow slowly in personhood throughout pregnancy as cognition develops. So a 26-week-old fetus would have less personhood than a 34-week-old fetus, which would have less personhood than a newborn baby, who would have less personhood than a toddler. And likewise, personhood can be lost as gradually as it can be gained. A lot of people think this is a reasonable way to look at the issue. For instance, you might think a fetus has some degree of personhood and so deserves moral consideration. But when the fetus is compared with its mother, a being with far more personhood by this logic, then the interests of the being with more personhood gets more weight. So this doesn't deny the personhood of either being, but it allows that some beings have more personhood than others.
Okay. I mean, I guess I could see how this works, because it doesn't lead to, oh, well, you have human DNA, but you're not enough to be considered a person. As long as there's no human that is 0% person, I could go. I don't think about it this way, but I don't have any super strong objections necessarily. Shout out to GNX in the building. Welcome. Say personhood is an intrinsic property of a human being. I agree. Not everybody does, but I definitely do. Welcome to the party. So Zippy said, in this context, will equals person. So he said, will defines you as an individual. You choose to conform or question. I choose to live under a rock. Okay. Zippy, I'm asking real questions. Like, what? Will defines you as an individual. You choose to conform or question. So what does it have to do with... that doesn't answer this question. That doesn't elaborate on will equals person. That just tells me more about what you think will is. How does will equal personhood?
The personhood of either being, but it allows that some beings have more personhood than others. This stuff is hard to talk about, but that's why we're talking about it, because it merits your attention. Not only does it matter now, as we're studying the concept of personhood for its own sake, but the answers you give to these questions are going to be important later when we're studying ethics. So give it a
This is why, guys, you do not need to have seen previous Philosophy Friday shows to enjoy this, but it will definitely help. There's no other type of stream that I do that is, unless there's a specific part 2 that I do that is based on a previous stream. And these are included, but again, it will definitely help your understanding and the understanding of where the chat is in general if you've seen the previous episodes. So we're gonna finish this one up and then leave the rest for next week. And yeah, I think we learned a lot here.
The answers you give to these questions are going to be important later.
Yeah, Janix said, I'd like to know an example of a human being that is not a person. I say, shit, me too.
When we're studying ethics. So give it a good long think and try to figure out what you believe constitutes personhood. As you consider the factors that you think are most important, be careful how you cast your net. Make sure you include everyone you think should be included and exclude those you think should be excluded. It's harder than you might think.
Oh, is a dead human still a person? My intuition is to say yes, but I don't think that I agree with my intuition there. So I want to say yes in the sense that it's not necessarily okay to just treat a dead body like, any other object. But reaching that level of personhood, I don't know. Because if you are a person, then you have personhood rights. Do you have the right to... I don't know. That's a really tough one. That's going to be our ending poll. Shout out to Stephen Colbert. Cheese is a dead human, still a person. Let me know, and we will definitely be discussing this in the after party, unless Cody's got a really awesome story for us. Good question, though. I really don't know. Zippy says, instinct is not will, as you can choose to go against instinct. I suppose making bad choices makes you a person? I'm only half facetious, but it's a neat question. I still don't know what you mean by will equals person. You're just telling me that instinct is not will and what happens with instinct. But how do you... why, like... It's like saying 3 times 5 equals, 1 times 15. Like, that's true, but I'm asking you to play that out for me. So you see, you have 15 on this side because it's 5 3 times, and then you have 15 times on the other side. So it's the same thing. I'm not understanding how will and person are the same thing. Okay. If you know, you know. I'm trying to give enough time so that if you don't know, that you don't figure it out. But if you know, you know. Steven said, the human may die, but the person you were and everyone and everything you affected can't. Now we're talking about an idea, though. We're talking about the idea, the memory of you. because it's not you. You, the physical person, can't do anything that a person can do anymore. You can't think. You don't have consciousness. You don't have self-awareness. You don't have any of those things. So I'm going to go with no. I'm going to go with no. You're not a person, but that we still, as as a society, have respect for dead bodies because of the personhood that the bodies once had. Oh, boom. Carl said he is talking about the will to power. Without it, you are not a human being, in his opinion. But he didn't say human. He said person. And we're specifically talking about the difference between human and person. So if you said will equals human, I would still disagree because, again, dogs have will. Morty wants more of this. Morty wants more of this, but of course, I was trying not to bring attention to it. But of course, now he's staring at it. GNX said, agree, 100%. Even if a dead human is not a person, they are still a member. Even a dead human is not a person. Are you kidding me? They are still a member of the human family and treated with dignity and respect. And I agree, but I think this is a cultural thing that we choose. Stop, Morty. I think that we choose to do this. And that is a human ritual. I don't think that when it comes to personhood rights that a dead body gets those. I think we choose as individuals to say we want to imbibe this this carcass with respect because of the person it once was. So let's see. Is a dead a human still a person? Wow. 2/3 of you saying yes. That is wild. So I don't really know what I mean. How do you? There's so many things that are crucial to being a person, that what you can do and what you're capable of. I don't see how you could make a dead human a person. All I can think of is individual personality equals person. Morty has an individual personality. Arden said, you are a person when alive. You were a person after you die. I love it. I love it. I think we're going to stick with that. You were a person when you were alive. Or you are a person when you're alive. You were a person. Morty, you're not getting any more. You're going to get fat. You got so many treats. You got all this peanut butter. Leave it alone. This is mine. This is for my shakes. This is not even for you. I moved it on the other side of the desk like that was going to do anything. Jesus Christ, on a motorbike. Stephen Colbert said, never interpret words as absolutes. Humanoid has different connotations from human, which has different connotations from person. Yep. Funkmaster said, animals have the will to live. They just don't give up when they're in danger. And Carl said, necrophiliacs everywhere. Agree with you. I can't do better than that. Oh, my goodness, guys. You are amazing. You are amazing. This has been one of my favorite streams for so many reasons. I love talking about this stuff. I think we've had very, thought-provoking questions. And I'd be lying if I didn't say I don't like the money. Thank you so much. We have the Funk Master General with the 10. Then another 5. And then Sarah with whatever the hell this is. And then Guam Tech with 5 gifted memberships. And then a Venmo. And then Zippy with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Rumble Rants. And then Cody doubling up on the 20s. And then, of course, Funk Master has to be the star of the show with the $50 super chat. Let's give him one more just to. There you go. We'll put it in here. Look, I'm gonna put it in here and get it stuck to the peanut butter. So he has to really try. All right, keep yourself busy, guys. You are amazing. Thank you so very, very, very much. I am so excited to talk to you guys in the after party because this has been really cool, and I'm very, very interested in what you guys have to say. So, I mean, again, you guys are leaving me speechless with the gratitude that I have, not just for, obviously, we all love money. Money makes the world go around. Whatever. I wish I didn't need any. I wish it was enough for you guys to just be here. Come on. I wish it was. I wish it was just enough to pay my bills for you guys to be here and show up and be part of the conversation. Because if that was, then I could live in a mansion by now. I could live in a mansion by now because you guys give me so much value. And I appreciate it so much. So thank you again so much. And yeah, GNX, we do Philosophy Friday every single Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. So make sure you hit that subscribe, ring the bell, and you will never miss an Indian Jesus live party ever again. All right, guys, let's head over to the after party. Thank you so very much for hanging out here. This is Morty, and I am your host, Lutch, aka the Indian Jesus. Thank you again. Head on over to the after party. I will see you guys probably tomorrow, but definitely live every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Until then, we are out of here. Peace.